Chapter 321. The Coming Team. With the roar of the experimental subject, he immediately entered the state of Cursed Seal, a living strong man mutated into a ferocious humanoid monster in an instant, and an evil chakra filled the whole body. The person's aura looked extremely terrifying, with bloodthirsty madness in his eyes, and he had obviously taken Shueyu as the target of his attack. After being completely cursed, he roared towards Shueyu. Haha tilde this uncle has been upset with him for a long time, teach him a good lesson for me. Come on, kill him. Rip him to shreds. After seeing that the experimental subject actually turned into a curse, the rest of the experimental subjects seemed to be accustomed to the shock in front of them. Not only were they not surprised, but they watched the scene in front of them with interest. He even laughed while shouting and cheering, with no intention of stopping, and even fanning the flames. The experimental subject who has been cursed has already been affected by the negative emotions of the curse, and driven by the desire to kill. He has ignored everything else, roaring and rushed towards Shueyu, and immediately rushed in front of Shueyu, waving a fist with a strong wind, and slammed it towards Shueyu's head. And Shueyu already knew what he wanted to do when the experimental body transformed. He didn't stop it, didn't even move his body, just looked at the clamoring experimental subjects with disgust. While the already cursed experimental subjects were frantically running around Shueyu, Shueyu had no defensive action, neither dodging nor dodging. From the eyes of those subjects, it seemed as if they had been frightened and foolish. They laughed presumptuously, but they couldn't see the disdain in Shueyu's eyes. Crack! With a violent punch with a whistling sound, it suddenly slammed into Shueyu's head. With a powerful blow, Shueyu's head was directly blown up. Shueyu's head was like a balloon filled with water. It exploded in general, water splashed everywhere, but unfortunately, for the Ghost Lantern clan who can ignore physical attacks, this pure brute force attack is useless to Shueyu. Because of the unique hydration technique of the Ghost Lamp family, Shueyu is not afraid of physical attacks at all. This kind of ordinary boxing is useless to him. Even if the punch is strong enough to smash stones, it will cause damage to the liquefied Shueyu. No damage, unless this experimental body can attach the Thunderdun to the fist. But this is obviously impossible. These savage experimental subjects will only be reckless, and they will not think of this method at all, so Shueyu will have no fear. I saw that after Shueyu's head was blown up, it turned into a splash of water in the sky. However, these splashes did not fall to the ground, but quickly condensed together to form a water ball the size of a human head, shrouded in the sky. On the head of the subject who attacked Shueyu. Because he was wrapped in the water polo and couldn't breathe, the cursed experimental body was struggling frantically, his hands constantly tearing at the water polo wrapped around his head, but no matter how hard he tried, the water polo was constantly being squeezed and deformed. Other than that, it never broke. Shueyu and Chongo have been partners for so long, and Chongo often loses control and goes mad. Whenever Chongo goes mad, Shueyu will use this trick to force Chongo to calm down. After repeated attempts, even the one with the curse mark of Chongwu, the source can't stand it, let alone these experimental subjects derived from Chongwu's spell. Sure enough, with the passage of time, the experimental subject who could not breathe felt gradually exhausted, and the strength of the struggle became weak, and the power of the curse could no longer be maintained. The experimental subject also gradually recovered its original human appearance from the ferocious curse mark state, and finally lost his eyes and collapsed to the ground powerlessly. Until then, Shueyu receded the water balloon that was placed on the head of the experimental subject. After recondensing the head, she looked at the experimental subject who was paralyzed on the ground like a dead dog with disdain, and said in a low voice with some discomfort, "Being with such a brainless guy has already made me very uncomfortable, don't cause me trouble." The experimental subject was not actually dead. After Shueyu took the water ball back, he coughed violently. Obviously, he was given a lot of water, but his physical strength was almost exhausted. He wanted to get up for a while. Will or not. These coquettish experimental subjects saw that their own kind was killed so easily and neatly, and now they were lying on the ground and twitching like dead dogs. The same kind who was defeated by Suiyu. because there is no bond between the experimental subjects at all. When they were locked in the northern stronghold, the struggle between them was never interrupted. Fighting alone, whoever doesn't like the eye will do it directly. Of course, they are simple-minded and have no idea of forming a gang. Although they are integrated by Chen, their arrogant character has not changed at all, so when their peers were killed, they still looked at them with a playful expression. They would only fall into trouble, and they had no intention of taking the lead for their peers. These guys are really helpless. Compared with Shigego, they are really bad. If it weren't for the need for manpower now, who would put out these garbage? Looking at the performance of these experimental subjects, Shueyu did not hide the disgust in her eyes at all, and could not help but compare Changwu with them. At least Changwu was very humble and gentle when he was not mad, and he was a very reliable teammate, even if he was mad from time to time. At the same time, even after being controlled, I will apologize very guilty. Now that I think about it, Shigego is really docile like a child. After a cold snort, Shueyu kicked the experimental subject who was paralyzed under his feet and flew out, leaning against a tree trunk to rest. However, what Shueyu and other sound ninja experimenters didn't know was that a large number of ninja teams were galloping fast about 10 miles away from the woods. Although the dresses of these ninjas were not uniform, they were on the forehead guard. Without exception, the word, ninja, is engraved. Obviously, these ninjas are members of the Ninja Alliance. And the direction they are going is the woods where Shueyu and the others are. Chapter 322. Tone Ninja Exposing Traces. Almost 10 miles away from the woods, there is a large number of ninja teams galloping fast. Although the clothes of these ninjas are not uniform, but without exception, the forehead guards they wear are engraved with a ninja word. Obviously, these ninjas are the people of the Ninja League. These ninjas are fully armed, with awe-inspiring expressions, like an elite division going to the battlefield, and this group of about 50 people is running fast in a V-shaped formation, and at the forefront of the team is the middle-aged ninja dressed in the ninja costume of Yenian village seems to be the leader of the team. After a short period of galloping, the team was already close to the woods where Shueyu and the others were. At the front of the team, they could vaguely see the exterior of an emerald green woods in the distance. At the moment when he saw the woods, the middle-aged Iwanan, who was the leader of the team, froze, stopped in an instant, raised his right hand suddenly, and shouted at the same time, "Everyone, stop moving." The ninjas behind him also always pay attention to the instructions of the leader. As soon as the leader's voice fell, they stopped moving forward, even if the order was issued suddenly, and they were still running fast. If you are an ordinary person, it is likely to cause confusion and even stampede. However, this kind of accident did not occur in this team. Not only did there not appear to be the slightest confusion, but even the formation was not scattered. After the order was issued, it responded instantly, like a well-trained army. If the order is really banned, it can be seen that the quality of this team is extraordinary. After these ninjas stopped, some people consciously alerted the surroundings, while the rest gathered around the leader and waited for instructions. A ninja wearing a Konoha ninja vest glanced at the woods in the distance, and then asked the leader of the team, "Captain Tanaka, have we arrived yet?" Tanaka was the name of that Iwatoshi, and he was indeed the team's captain. Hearing the team's question, Tanaka glanced at the ninjas in the villages surrounding him, nodded and said, "That's right, according to the information obtained by the Perception Department, the location we are looking for is the jungle ahead." Quote. Knowing that the destination has arrived, a ninja stared in the direction of the woods, with hatred in his eyes, as if he had a deep hatred, and said with gnashing teeth, "Bastard, no matter who it is, I will definitely kill you." This team is actually made up of ninjas from various ninja villages. Each of these ninjas is an elite who has experienced 100 battles, and their strength should not be underestimated. The reason why they gathered together was because of an order from the headquarters. It is because the perception unit of the headquarters of the Ninja League has detected an extraordinary place. That place is the wood where Shueyu and the others are. Shueyu originally thought that choosing a forest as a hiding place would reduce the chance of exposure, but he still underestimated the Ninja League's ability to perceive ninjas. At the beginning, apart from occasionally encountering a few small groups of ninjas passing by transporting supplies, there was really no large-scale team, because the location of Shueyu and the others was not on the frontline battlefield or important geographical location. So the perception unit at the headquarters didn't notice it. What Shueyu didn't expect was that the team they intercepted was actually the logistics force of the Ninja League, which was why this elite ninja team was recruited. It was also after the loss of contact with several logistical teams that transported supplies to the front line in the past few days. If it was just an ordinary combat team that lost contact, it might not have attracted attention so quickly. After all, it is a war time, everywhere. All are fighting, and thousands of ninjas are fighting every day, and sacrifice is inevitable. However, the late-stage troops responsible for transporting supplies lost contact, and the situation was different. The military ration pills, shuriken kunai, and detonating talismans needed by ninjas were staggering wear and tear every day. The logistics force is to solve the problem. These concerns were established. Every day, there are logistics teams that transport materials from the headquarters to various battlefields without interruption. Therefore, after a few logistics teams lost contact, it immediately attracted great attention. After an investigation, it was found that these lost teams were all the same route without exception, so the perception department of the Ninja League began to use perception. This route finally discovered the strangeness in the woods where Shueyu and the others were located. There was an amazing force lurking there. The few logistical teams that lost contact were already more fortunate. Allies were outraged. As for the resentful ninja just now, his younger brother is a logistics staff responsible for delivering supplies. He has been out of contact for 2 days. He must have been killed. After all, it is relatively safer to transport supplies in the rear than to fight on the front line, but the accident still happened, and now it is possible to find the murderer, which naturally makes him eager to kill the enemy, for him brother's revenge. Tanaka, who was the captain, glanced at the ninja and said solemnly, "Calm down, don't be impatient, and don't forget our mission." Hearing the words, the ninja looked back. Although he really wanted to avenge his brother now, as an elite ninja who had experienced war, he still controlled his emotions very well, and was not blinded by hatred. After taking a deep breath to calm down, he said to Tanaka, "I understand, Captain, don't worry, I'm calm now." Tanaka nodded and said with relief, "We can understand your mood, but now is a special period, we must focus on the overall situation, and we can't be blinded by personal grievances." At this time, the ninjas present also nodded and said, "Don't worry, Captain, we know what to do." "Okay, all the repairs are in place, and we don't know what will happen ahead. Get back to your state as soon as possible." After seeing that the rest of the team members had already expressed their opinions, Tanaka didn't say anything more. After all, every ninja present here is an elite. They know what they should do best. They don't need to say more. At the same time, after taking out a military ration pill from the ninja kit, he found an open space and sat down, waiting for it to return to the best state. They have been running fast, and their chakras are almost worn out. They must hurry up and get back to a good state as soon as possible. Chapter 323, The Ninja Team's Plan. In the battle between ninjas, the most important thing is information. The ninjutsu mastered by the enemy, the number of people, the formation, as well as the terrain of the place where the battle will be fought, all kinds of unexpected situations that may occur, and the degree of benefit to the enemy and ourselves, all must be considered in detail, and then a decision can be made on how to start the battle. All the members of this elite team are all the ninjas of various ninja villages, but they will never relax their vigilance at any time or anywhere. You must know that this is a big battle that affects the entire ninja world. How's it going? Konoha's mountain family. The family of the Konoha Mountains inherited the secret technique of the spiritual system, that is, the use of powerful spiritual power to control the actions of the enemy, making the enemy unable to control their own body, but at the same time they also have excellent perception ability. For each elite team, it is very beneficial to have a member of the mountain family in their team, whether it is fighting or collecting intelligence. The middle-aged man of the mountain family with a yellowish-brown color came over slowly. He rubbed his slightly stiff face. I have used the animal's body to scout the enemy ahead. Speaking of which, the middle-aged mountain family's people glanced around, and the other members around had gathered, listening carefully to the information, and surrounded Captain Tanaka and himself in a circle. It can be initially judged that the enemy we are facing is not someone from the Shao organization. What? Isn't it? Then who else will attack our ninja federation, and the number is so large? The enemy was not the Akatsuki organization, which was obviously beyond their expectations. After all, they subconsciously thought that the more than 1,000 uninvited guests were mass-produced avatars that they had fought against, because the most they had fought against in the past few days was that although this number was large, the strength was generally low, and it could only be regarded as the canon fodder's avatar of Baiju. They have also understood the characteristics of Baiju avatar in the past few days. Except for the advantage of quantity, the rest are not to be feared at all, so when the perception department perceives the number of the opponent, the Ninja Alliance, it was just that a battle formation of 50 people was urgently called to investigate. Although the number of people was small, they were all elites. If they were to deal with Baiju's clone, it was more than enough. The mountain clan did not sell anything, and said bluntly, they are Yin-Ren. Sound forbearance. This is. Knowing the name of Yin-Ren, the members present did not react for a while, but Tanaka, the captain, suddenly changed his face after hearing the word Yin-Ren, and his eyes were fixed on the mountain family. The man seemed to be confirming whether he heard it wrong. And the ninja of the Yamanaka family seemed to know Tanaka's thoughts, and said again with a firm tone, yes, that is the sound ninja. At this time, the other members had obviously noticed it and exclaimed, Sound Ninja Village, the ninja village where the Eagle organization is located, the ninja village ruled by Uchiha. This Sound Ninja Village was originally founded by Orochimaru, but Orochimaru has been killed by Uchiha Sasuke. Now the person who rules Sound Ninja Village is Uchiha Chen of Eagle Squad. This is already well known in the ninja world. Something happened. When other people heard this, they couldn't calm down. No matter how elite Jonin, in the current ninja world, anyone who heard Uchiha Chen's name could not calm down. This is the guy who fought against the Five Shadows by himself and made a mess of Konoha and Union Village. Not to mention them, even if the shadows of their villages are here, they would not dare to attack rashly. You must know that the influence of the Eagle organization is not weaker than that of Shao at this time. Although it is understood that the fundamental purpose of this war is to destroy the Moon Eye Plan and defeat the Masked Man, who calls himself Uchiha Amadara's man, but Uchiha Chen's the influence is definitely not smaller than the current Masked Man. And even the Akatsuki organization has failed cases, but Eagle is different. This Uchiha Chen has been in a good position since he was active in the ninja world, and has never had a defeat. Even before the Ninja Alliance was established, there was an iron order inside each village, specifically targeting Uchiha Chen. As long as Wying is not present, at any time facing Uchiha Chen, he must retreat immediately and unconditionally. If he is performing a mission, give up the mission and not be regarded as a mission failure. Close black lens bracket. Just hearing the name makes people talk about the tiger's discoloration, which shows how much shock Uchiha Chen has in the major ninja villages. Yamanaka looked at the sinking faces of everyone, and said with a slow sigh, don't worry, although it is true that it is true, Uchiha Chen himself doesn't seem to be there, and besides Uchiha Chen, other members of the Eagle Squad, including another a worthy Sasuke Uchiha, isn't on that team either. Is that so? When everyone heard this, they were obviously relieved, feeling that the big stone in their hearts had disappeared. You must know that if Chen himself is here, then they can only temporarily retreat first, hand over this information to Wying, and then let Wying decide how to deal with it. After all, if it is Uchiha Chen, it is not by their own will. Can decide. The ninja whose younger brother was killed originally sank to the bottom of his heart after learning that it was Uchiha Tatsuya's rule, but now that Uchiha Tatsu wasn't there, his thoughts of revenge poured out again, and he secretly vowed that he would absolutely avenge your loved ones. Then let's continue. About the information. Tanaka motioned everyone to be quiet after seeing that everyone's emotions had calmed down, and continued to listen to the information from Yamanaka. The intelligence I have observed mainly has the following aspects. Tanaka began to tell what he had just observed with the bird's eyes. First, there are indeed members of the Eagle organization ahead. According to the information shared by various ninja villages in the past, it is confirmed that it is the rebel ninja of Wuin village, and the ghost lamp Shueyu of the ghost lamp family is undoubtedly, and he should be the yin ninja leader. Secondly, except for Gaidong Shueyu, everyone else seems to be very irritable, extremely disjointed internally, and the formation is also very loose, and according to the scene I saw, these irritable people should be with Orochimaru's group. It is related to the curse mark. This technique will make people lose their minds while gaining power, and the desire to kill will be completely controlled. Among them, some people even fight directly like the leader of Shueyu. Of course, they are subdued by Shueyu. Quote. The third is. After listening to the report from the mountain, everyone present was shocked. It was actually related to that Orochimaru. Especially Konoha's ninjas, as elites, they know more or less about the means of Orochimaru. This person once also launched a plan to destroy Konoha and directly led to Uchiha Sasuke's mutiny. But hasn't Orochimaru been killed by Sasuke Uchiha? Why does his technique appear again? After all, Tanaka is the best coordinator ninja here. After listening to the content, he thought about it for a while and then he made a plan. This task must be carried out now. Looking around the team members, Tanaka began to analyze with a solemn expression. Now it's up to me to consolidate the information. Everyone should pay attention. There are thousands of enemies now. But we already know that they are not united internally. According to the information provided by Konoha on the curse seal, and the information brought back from the scene in Yamanaka, the enemy who uses this technique will only have the desire to kill and kill each other. The enemy's interior is very loose, and it can be said that it is just a beast that only uses brute force. We just need to minimize casualties, provoke them, and let them rage and kill each other. And the primary purpose of this mission, the most important thing, is to capture the members of the Eagle organization, the Ghost Lights and Water Moon. Having said this, Tanaka's eyes became more and more solemn. You know, since Uchiha Chen is not here, and Gaidong Shueyu is a member of Ying, if he can be successfully arrested, and then extract information about Ying and Uchiha from his mouth, and why they have it. The information about Orochimaru's technique can at least give us a better understanding of Uchiha, so that we may become more beneficial to us when we fight Uchiha. Everyone present is the elite Junin from each village. I absolutely believe in your abilities. Tanaka is so excited. And the same is true for the ninjas present. An important member of the Alive Eagle organization, this will be a very important action. If they can be successfully captured and interrogated for important information, this is likely to have a crucial impact on this war, and they will become heroes who turn the situation around. Now, does anyone have any advice for combat? Let's integrate the information again, and the members of Wuin village, you can explain in detail about the abilities of the Ghost Lights and Water Moon. Finally prepare, everyone will be ready to leave in 5 minutes. At the same time, in the woods, Shueyu and Yinin's people are all bored and stay in the woods, leaning or lying down, or staring at each other, arguing. In short, there is no discipline, very lazy. Apparently they didn't realize there was an operation going on against them. Shueyu sat lazily on the branch, resting her chin with one hand, looking at the direction where I left before, thoughtfully. In the end, it's Sasuke that Shigego cares about. He can't wait when he hears the news of Sasuke. Forget it, I don't care about this kind of thing, let him do it. After pondering in a low voice for a while, Shueyu chuckled and shook her head, put her hands behind her head, leaned against the tree trunk and closed her eyes justly. Chapter 224. The battle begins. Due to the huge number of sound ninjas, it is definitely impossible for Shueyu to arrange them all in an orderly manner. Just stay in the woods and don't go out of the woods, this is Shueyu's arrangement for the sound ninjas. Moreover, Shueyu's personality is also a bit carefree. He didn't pay too much attention to the group of guys who are not very calm. In addition, there have been no accidents in the past few days, which also caused him to relax at this time. And there are too many of these sound ninjas, scattered lazily in this big forest. He just can't manage it. After all, these restless guys will make noise almost every once in a while. If he has to take care of it every moment, it is estimated that he will be exhausted, so as long as there is not too much disturbance, he will generally ignore it. However, it was precisely because of Shueyu's carelessness that no one found out that a few Alliance ninjas who secretly disguised as Tonin had sneaked into the team. After all, thousands of people were scattered in the woods, all of them had long been suffocated and became extremely slack, and no one noticed that there were a few more people. Somewhere in the woods, several subjects were cursing. "Hey, aren't you bored? Aren't you bored? Huh? I'm almost suffocated. Let's go out. Let's go out. Let's go out. Let's go out. Now there are fights all over the place. You heard right. It's upside down. That Akatsuki and the Ninja Alliance were too early. Let's go to war. I can smell the smell of blood here. Shangchun is amazing, ha 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 ha." An ugly-looking middle-aged muscular man had a strange tone. His eyes were full of bloodshot eyes, and his voice was a little hoarse. He was chattering, and at this moment, he was scratching the curse mark on his arm with one hand. "I'm dying of boredom. Ah, bored to death. There is simply not enough trash to eat. Boring is so boring." Quote. After saying that, he suddenly opened his mouth and took a bite on his forearm. See, a large piece of flesh and blood was torn off by himself, and his mouth full of blood made a sound of smack, 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 and several other Yinren saw such an exciting scene for a while. Live by yourself. Hey, are you a pervert? You just want to fight, don't you? An ordinary Tonin clearly couldn't understand the behavior of the experimental subject, and said with a strange expression. Hearing the words, the ugly experimenter looked at the ordinary Yinjin with contempt, and said with a grinning face, "Ah ha ha. What is pain? It's not painful at all, but it's cool. Besides, the existence of the curse mark is such a good thing. A little injury doesn't hurt at all for me. Would you like to try it too? It's super exciting. HMPH, who would do such an idiot thing?" While sitting on the stone, the woman with a pale face like a dead man sneered at the ugly big man. "Ah, what did you say? You dare to say that I'm an idiot? I'm an idiot." When the ugly experimental subject heard someone mocking him, he was obviously provoked. He jumped up abruptly, and the woman who approached the dead face tore off his clothes, exposing his hideous muscles, and aimed at the experimental subject. The woman roared, "Ugly girls, do you want to die? If you want to die, just say it. Ahahaha, fight, fight, watch a good show, watch a good show." Seeing that someone was about to fight again, those who were already idle and panicked, the experimental subjects or the sound ninjas also started to roar and clamor, because staying here has made them panic, so they are all suffocating. There is nowhere to vent their energy. As long as something that can relieve their boredom happens, they will howl excitedly, and they don't care about the other party's life or death. "Oh, hurry up, whoever loses will take off his head and use it as the ball." An ugly-faced bald-headed curse-marked test subject grinned wickedly at the two who were facing each other. The fellow roared loudly. "Ooh, that's a good idea, but I'm more interested in your head, bald man." As for the other experimental subject next to the bald-headed curse marker, whether he imagined the bloody scene, or was stimulated by the blood that appeared after biting his arm just now, he couldn't help but enter the curse mark state. The whole person turned into a humanoid monster, roaring at the bald experimental subject. "What did you say? You bastard, do you want to be killed by me?" When the bald-headed experimental body saw that someone dared to provoke him, he must have been dissatisfied, and his emotions were also affected. He also entered the state of the curse mark, and directly threw his fist and rushed towards the curse mark experimental body who provoked him. Of course the provocative curse-marked experimental body would not back down. When he saw the bald-headed experimental body attacking him, not only did he not dodge, but instead showed a terrifying grin. He waved his fists to meet him, and the two of them collided in an instant. Together, the fight began. This time it wasn't just the ugly man and the woman. After hearing the movement, some curse seal experiment subjects in the distance gathered around one after another, shouting loudly, grinning and shouting. The scene was unusually chaotic. HMPH, what a bunch of inhuman beasts. Just a small thing can cause disputes. Such people would be teammates in the same camp. It is ridiculous to have such people form a team. Among them, two people have been leaning against a big tree with an indifferent expression, staring closely at the chaotic sound ninjas, and the two of them are naturally the elite team of the Ninja Alliance. Maybe the plan will be better than imagined. We should think about how to arrest the ghost, Captain. The man called the captain was naturally Tanaka, and Tanaka frowned slightly. Don't let your guard down. Are the others in place? Oil girls. Ah, it's in place. The bug has brought back all the news. Then, inform everyone. Count down 30 seconds. Tanaka's eyes gradually sharpened. At this moment, all the members of the elite team have mixed into the sound ninja position in the woods. Just like the information they got, these sound ninjas are indeed a group of rabble. Although they have powerful chakras, they are almost everywhere in every place. Every moment is arguing, and it means that if you disagree, you will fight. Only one fuse is needed to completely ignite this war. At this moment, the elites of the Ninja Federation have used their camouflage skills to sneak into the Yin Nin. They are either actively provoking disputes, or watching a good show, or, accidentally, bumping into a certain sound forbearance, causing all kinds of small friction. Looking at the sleepy Shueyu on the branch, this kid actually made a water bubble and wrapped his head, because the idiots below were too noisy. Almost every once in a while, I have to make some noise. Shueyu is already used to it. After all, it is impossible for these guys to settle down, so Shueyu ignores them. Just let them make trouble, or even simply come out of sight and out of mind, and isolate yourself with a water polo. Therefore, Shueyu, who is taking a nap comfortably, has absolutely no idea how far the following quarrel has developed. And if Changwu is here at this time, he must have seen through the Sound Ninja Alliance long ago, not to mention whether he can see through the disguise of the elite group of the Ninja Alliance, but he can feel the authenticity of the curse mark, and the small animals will also tell him that someone has sneaked in. So the development of the situation is completely caused by a coincidence. At this point in time, the Ninja League came here and Shigego just went after Sasuke not long ago. Now, all the ninjas in the elite group of the Ninja League are reciting numbers in their hearts. 10. 9. 8. Another dispute broke out. Yin Ren seemed to accidentally step on the face of a sleeping Yin Ren, and that Yin Ren was naturally furious, and immediately yelled at which bastard he was when he got up. And the ninja allied ninja who disguised as Sound Ninja immediately pointed to the real Sound Ninja on the side with an innocent face, and the trampled ninja rushed up and grabbed the innocent ninja without even thinking about it. Innocent Yin Ren's temper is also irritable. He ignores the other party's reason for daring to come up and grab him. He grabs Yin Ren who is rushing up, and sneers again and again. Do you want to die, boy? Do you want to? Let me take your head off. 3. 2. At this moment, all the elite team members of the Ninja Alliance have already begun to refine chakra. 1. Mission begins. Tanaka walked over and patted the ugly man on the shoulder. What are you doing? I didn't see that Uncle Ben was. Before he could finish speaking, the scorching flames had already enveloped him. Everyone started to make seals, facing the sound ninjas who were either provoking or watching a good show. Either a sneak attack or a frontal, or a division of labor like Tanaka. Release suddenly. Boom. There were violent explosions all over the woods. Fire escape. Great fireball technique. Water escape, the technique of the great waterfall. Too done, too long bomb. There are all kinds of screams and howls, and more blood-devouring laughter full of anger. I don't care, You dare to attack me? Looking at his scorched arm, the ugly man suddenly twisted and swelled up, and instantly entered the state of the curse. Take your head off, slutty bitches. The fight begins in an instant. Chapter 325, Rounding Up Ghost Lanterns Shueyu. Crash. The sound of huge trees constantly being bombed and cut to the ground, the original base of Yin Ninja in the Woods has now become a Shira field. The young woman whose face was as pale as a dead person's skin turned completely black at this time. One hand became a claws holding the ugly man's head, and the other hand became a soft body like an octopus tentacle. Ow! With a roar, the black-faced young woman rushed into the slaughtering crowd. All kinds of roars, fights, laughter. Take your head off. Eyeballs. Ha ha ha, my eyeballs are falling. Eyeballs are falling. Ah, it feels so good to be full of power. I want to kill all of you, Lord Shangchen, to prove that I'm the strongest, ha 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 ha. Hey hey hey, it's true. Shueyu fluttered and stood up a long time ago, unable to calm down. He almost stood up from the tree just now. Damn it. Damn Shigego, why would you go to Sasuke at such a time? Shueyu looked at the chaotic battle below and turned into blood-devouring test subjects, feeling complicated and a little aggrieved. He is the one who has witnessed the power of the curse seal all the way. The rubbish below has now become a demon who knows nothing but kills. Even what he can do now is to wait for the rubbish to use up the power of the curse and return to the prototype. I'll make plans again, I just hope the casualties won't be too large. It's really troublesome, it's troublesome. Having figured it out, Shueyu sat down again. It's just boring, it's interesting to watch that trash perform. Haha, the boss can't blame me when that happens. I can't do anything about it. There are too many people. I don't care. If you want to blame it, it's the boy Changwu who left me here alone. That's right, it's that boy Changwu's fault. When Shueyu's head was thinking about how to explain to Uchiha Chen, a sudden murderous intent made his whole body tense. Not right. The sense of crisis on his back suddenly disappeared in a flash. PFF'd. In the next instant, the water drops splash. Shueyu's head turned into a big splash. Shueyu, I've seen you upset for a long time. A ferocious face that has been cursed and has a pair of wings is flying on the side and roaring at Shueyu. Through his claws that are constantly dripping water, it can be seen that he just attacked Shueyu. Shueyu's new head is slowly taking shape. Shueyu twisted her neck and looked at Yin Ren who was beside her. Fortunately it was hydrated at the critical moment, haha, otherwise it would become very bad. I'm in trouble. Shueyu's expression suddenly became gloomy when she said this, and she held the beheading knife wheel behind her to the front. The tip of the knife pointed at Yin Ren who was flying in the sky, and said indifferently, I don't like it when I look at me. Understandable, but there is no need to continue the pretense, right? Tell me, who are you? The originally violent Yin Ren was silent for a while, then whispered, have you seen it? Of course. How could that group of irrational guys come to attack me specifically? What's more, you are just pretending to be an ordinary Yin Nin. As long as your brain is not damaged, you can't be an inexplicable old active attack. Shueyu could only dig her ears out of boredom to express her disdain at the confusion below. Shueyu's original playful expression became a little colder, and she stared at the man who had just attacked him. The mysterious person in the sect said coldly, if you say that, you are the cause of the following situation, right? Suoga, you should be a member of the Ninja Alliance. Can you find this place? Sure enough, I was too careless. I underestimated the intelligence work of the Ninja Federation. And you shouldn't be alone, right? Really, I already said that bringing the following guys will get in the way, and now even this uncle is in crisis together. Can you just let me go like this? Go. The person hiding behind the 9th tree from me on the right, your murderous aura is too heavy, although I am not the perceptive type of Xianglin, but you at least respect me, said Shueyu, who had arrived here, suddenly fell silent, and he opened his eyes wide to see the change in falsetto forbearance in front of him. I saw a wisp of black smoke suddenly appearing from Katoto Shinobi's body. Katoto Shinobu's whole body started to crack, and black smoke was coming out. What is this technique? Shuiyu was still puzzled at first, but after a closer look, she immediately noticed something was wrong. Her face suddenly changed and she exclaimed, "Damn it! It's a bug. There are so many bugs. It's disgusting. It's a bit bad now. I hate it the most. Bugs, can you put away your bugs first? We have something to say slowly." Quote. That's impossible. The ghost lamp Shuiyu. Tanaka, who was slightly depressed, appeared on a tree closer to Shuiyu and said slowly. At the same time, 7 ninjas from the allied ninja army appeared one after another, plus the Oil Girl clan who was lifted up by the insects, making a total of 8 people. Among them, the most murderous ninja not far away is the ninja with kunai in his hand. Shuiyu looked at the ninja who surrounded him, and didn't act rashly, thinking to herself, what happened to me, 8 people? And all of them are Shangnin. I'm really in a big crisis now. Of course, the number of the ninja coalition team is more than this, but due to the outbreak of chaos, not everyone can get out immediately, and some people even died at the moment when the chaos broke out. Of course, this is the price that has been expected. Now there are also some people who are far away from Shuiyu, but they are also trying to get closer. Of course, it is not so simple in the crowd of killing. Shuiyu showed a helpless look on her face, and she said with a wry smile, "Really, what the hell, I'm just a person, you shouldn't have to use so many junin to deal with me. You guys are too inspiring, too exaggerated. Alright." In the face of Shuiyu's complaints, the ninja who surrounded the ninja did not relax in the slightest. The clan of the oily girl who controlled the insects had a solemn face and said in a low voice, "Ghost Shuiyu, Qinwu Rebellion and Forbearance, known as the Genius of Ghosts, he is now an important member of the Eagle Squad. He directly participated in a series of actions by Uchiha Chen, including the big incident of attacking Union and Konoha. During the 5 shadow talks, he ambushed the first 5 generations of water shadows have left the 3 major ninja villages with indelible pain. As Uchiha Chen's right-hand man, you are recognized as a dangerous person. It is no exaggeration to deal with you with such a lineup." After listening to the oily girl, Shuiyu seemed to be very useful. With a playful smile on her face, she said with a teasing, "Yahahaha, I didn't expect my ghost lamp Shuiyu to become a celebrity, too. Should I be honored or unfortunate for you to give such a rating, but are you planning to capture me alive in this battle? Let me think. Oh, yes, you may think I am from the Eagle Squad man, so I plan to interrogate the information about the Eagle and our boss Uchiha Chen from my mouth. It seems that no matter what I do, you will not let me go. This is really bad." Although Shuiyu's situation at this time seems to be very unfavorable to him, the joke on his face indicates that he does not feel the slightest nervousness, at least not on the surface, which also makes Tanaka feel a little bit of unease. Tanaka cautiously looked around, and found that there was no potential danger. The sound ninjas were all on their own. They didn't notice that their leader was in crisis at this time, and no one wanted to come to support at all. Seeing this, Tanaka's originally uneasy heart was slightly relieved. Seeing Tanaka's actions, Shuiyu seemed to see through his thoughts, and she couldn't help laughing. Don't be nervous. I don't know how to play tricks, and I'm surrounded by you now, why don't you do this? Well, you let me go. In exchange, I will tell you what you want to know. I don't want to die here inexplicably. How?" Hearing Shuiyu's words similar to begging for mercy, Tanaka felt more at ease, stared at Shuiyu firmly, and said solemnly, "Ghost Shuiyu, stop rhetoric, let's not say whether you will tell us what you know. Intelligence, even if you can tell us, it may not be true. As long as we catch you, we will naturally have a way to take out what you know. If you want to suffer less pain now, you will be captured obediently." In fact, Tanaka also knows that it is impossible to make Gaidong Shuiyu surrender obediently in just a few words. He just said it casually, just to put pressure on the other party. Of course, it would be great if he could arrest Shuiyu without a fight. "Hey, that's not good. I don't want to be a prisoner, and if I get caught by you, I will definitely be laughed at by the Shanglan guy for the rest of my life, then I will be embarrassed. Then, there's nothing to say. Tanaka's voice became somber. Several other ninjas have surrounded Shueyu in a circle, ready to attack at any time. Well, there's really nothing to say. Then, the joke is over, the next step is cut you. Shueyu smiled, revealing jagged teeth, and her purple eyes gleamed blood. Chapter 326, The Battlefield of Shueyu. Well, there is really nothing to say, so, should you cut off your hands or feet first? Shueyu smiled, revealing jagged teeth, and her purple eyes gleamed blood. Everyone be careful, prepare to fight. Tanaka immediately tightened his body. Ghostlight Shueyu, a member of the Eagle organization, Uchiha Chen's right-hand man. This is the Shueyu that most people know now, but it is impossible to forget the past Shueyu just because now. When he was young, he was already a prodigy known as the rebirth of the ghost. He had a strong obsession with cutting off. The fighting method was very cruel. As long as he fought, he would definitely cut off the opponent's hands and feet. This is the real Ghostlight. Although she has been following Chen in the organization, bickering with Xianglin and joking with Shigego, that is only the feeling that Suzuki has for the partnership of the same organization. For those who want to put themselves to death, Shueyu, who is usually carefree and joking, will never give up half-heartedly. Just cut it off. Really, since joining Eagle, it's always been the boss guy who has been in the limelight. My uncle's ambition is to rectify the name of the Seven Knives. It's just right. You have come to the door, let's use this battle to make the Seven Ninja Knives famous again. Shueyu raised the knife, showing a rare provocative and serious look. So, who did you come from first? The arrogant guy. A roar. The ninja below who has a revenge for killing relatives has already rushed up at this time. Among these people, his hatred for Shueyu and Ying is the most violent. He has been thinking about avenging his brother for a few days after losing his brother. Captain Tanaka, I must take his head down as a sacrifice for my brother. With a sword drawn from his waist, he jumped up from the shorter tree on the other side, then rolled several times in the air, and finally stepped firmly on the trunk of the tree where Shueyu was, with a grim face, rushing up. Come. Kill you, shouted the angry ninja with the knife. Damn, this fellow Kuroki is still impulsive, he can't do anything, he can't wait anymore, let's go together. Don't give Ghost Lantern Shueyu any chance to escape. Damn it, the Ninja Alliance is unexpectedly despicable. Didn't I tell you to come one by one? Shueyu raised the beheading sword and was about to move to avoid the edge. To put it bluntly, she ran first, but was stopped by the sudden appearance of the black constantly distorted shape. It's the bug of the Oil Girl family. Damn, is it this guy again? He glanced at the oil woman who was lifted up by the insects in the sky. He was providing remote support to the team members, trying to use insects to suppress Shueyu's action route in space. The most important thing is stop Shueyu from escaping. Tap tap. The footsteps are approaching. As soon as Shueyu gritted her teeth, she could only accept it first. When the moment of turning around, the beheading sword suddenly slashed down. Hee hee. The knife and the knife collided with fierce sparks. Shueyu was excited to find that her power was completely above the enemy. She gritted her teeth and prepared to add strength, but was stopped by a fire ninja. Fire escape, the technique of the big fireball. Too done, too Changzu. I rely on. Kicked away the black wood, and Shueyu immediately avoided the attack range of the Hao fireball and the shock wave of the earth with a deep jump. Hey, are you too despicable? Beautiful work. Takeya, Uchima. Next, leave it to me. Shueyu, who had just stood firm, was only halfway through speaking, when she felt a dangerous aura again. Too done. Earth Dragon Ball technique. Shueyu's eyes narrowed, and she said coldly, Chi. It's really endless. A twisting and weird Earth Dragon separated directly from the ground and charged towards Shueyu. Don't underestimate me, Shui Dun. How to use the water arm technique. I saw that Shueyu's other hand without a knife instantly swelled several times. This was the use of Shueyu's hydration technique. The water collected from the whole body is compressed and strengthened as the whole arm. Boom! Tulong was actually smashed into rubble by Shuiyu's punch. Bang bang bang. After several battles in the air, Shuiyu already had a rough calculation of the enemy. All of them are at the level of the ninja, 2 Earth Escape ninjas, 1 monster using insects, and the captain and bamboo who use fire escape, and the Black Tongue who is also good at swordsmanship. There are 3 others, one uses the wind escape, the other uses the same water escape as himself. Fortunately, there was no Thunder Dun ninja. Then things might be easier. I have to get rid of these people quickly so as to open a breakthrough. If the rest of them are gathered together, I may want to leave, it will be more troublesome. Compared with Shuiyu's inner thoughts, the hearts of several members of the ninja allied forces are a little shaken. Is Shuiyu so powerful? One person can resist several attacks by their 8 Junin. But you must know that they really underestimated Shuiyu before. Shuiyu was originally a genius at using knives and water escapes in the original book. Moreover, after experiencing several battles with Chen, I was fascinated by the fact that Shuiyu's strength and method of fighting have also improved. Now Shuiyu is more than a little bit stronger than the original Shuiyu, although not to mention Spike's 8 Shengnen, but there is no problem in confrontation for a while. After all, almost every member of Akatsuki's organization can do this, and he is a member of the Eagle who is no weaker than Akatsuki. So, that's about it. The enemy's information is probably already understood, and the counterattack is about to begin. At this time, Haitong, who was using the knife, suddenly found that Shuiyu's body was a little dull. Isn't your physical strength enough? That's right, after all, this is the encirclement and suppression of the 8 Shengnen. Go to hell, Ghost Light Shuiyu. As soon as he gritted his teeth, Kuroki used all his strength to quickly cut out a knife. That knife directly split Shuiyu's body, splitting it into 2 halves. But Kuroki looked up in horror. Looking at Shuiyu's upper body, he saw his eyes glowing with a strange purple light. Hey, are you careless? Shuiyu seals on both hands, apply water. He completely controlled the Kuroki who was going with a knife. Then Shuiyu raised her knife high, and was about to slash towards the unresisting black wood. Don't try to succeed. The nearest Earth Escape ninja immediately condensed another Earth Dragon and charged directly at Shuiyu. Shuiyu glanced at the ninja, smiled strangely, and did not dodge at all, hee. Hydration. The roaring Earth Dragon passed through the water moon and directly hit the black wood. Blackwood. Kuroki spit out a mouthful of blood and slowly fell. I am careless. Captain Tanaka's face was extremely low. Don't worry, you won't let him fall. Shuiyu grabbed the black wood that was hit by the Earth Dragon, and raised the beheading sword. At least you have to chop off your hands and legs first. Chapter 327, Shuiyu captured. Shuiyu grabbed the black wood that was about to fall, and suddenly raised the beheading knife with a bloodthirsty smile on her face. Don't try to succeed. Tanaka on the side saw that the situation was not good, and immediately shouted to a place not far away, Mountain, it's now. The art of turning the heart. As soon as Tanaka's voice fell, the ninja of the mountain clan lurking somewhere in the woods immediately launched a secret technique that had already been prepared, and his target was Shuiyu. And Shuiyu immediately felt the difference when the ninjas of the mountain clan launched the secret technique, and was slightly stunned. Although he had never dealt with people from the mountain clan, the vigilance he had developed over the years made him conditioned reflex. As usual, without any further hesitation, he immediately responded. At the moment when he felt the crisis hit, Shuiyu didn't have time to think, so he immediately dropped the black wood and flashed to the side, and then felt an invisible chakra in him. The original location quickly passed through. Although he escaped a disaster, the current crisis has not been resolved. Looking at his previous position, although Shuiyu had an indifferent expression on the surface, he was actually startled secretly. Release your spirit. Is it the technique of occupying the opponent's body? This is the secret technique of Konoha's secret technique family, the mountain family, not only the oil girl of the insect control family, but also the ninja of the mountain family, and the rest of the ninjas should also be from each village. The best, I didn't expect that there would be so many elites in one team, it's really a bit bad now. Shuiyu looked around vigilantly, trying to find out where the ninja of the mountain clan might hide. After all, the other party was hiding in the dark. This time, he didn't succeed, but he would make another shot at any time. Surrounded by Shang ninja, these ninjas are not fuel-efficient lamps. He must raise his spirit of 120,000 points. If he is a little careless, he will capsize in the gutter, and the spiritual attacks of the mountain clan are invisible and intangible, and they are even more threatening. Big, now he not only has to deal with the attacks of other ninjas, but also has to devote his energy to the ninjas of the Yamanaka clan who will launch secret techniques at any time. There are more and more troublesome guys. These guys from the Ninja Alliance really want to arrest me. If they are under control, there is really no way to get away. At the same time, an unwilling voice came from behind a tree not far away. Hey, did you fail? To be able to open up more spiritual attacks from the mountain clan under such circumstances is indeed an eagle, and his strength is indeed extraordinary. Such a genius is very rare even in the 5 great ninja villages, but it's a pity that he is a traitor. But fortunately, Kuroki was finally rescued. Tanaka obviously did not expect that Shuiyu could escape the mental attack of the Yamanaka clan under such circumstances. Even if it was an enemy, Tanaka couldn't help but admire the opponent's strength in his heart. Haimu, who had just been rescued, obviously realized his fault, and said with a look of embarrassment, "Yes, I'm sorry Captain, I've caused you trouble, at this time." Due to Kuroki's unauthorized action, Tan Zongzong felt a little unhappy, but he knew that now was not the time to care about it, so he said solemnly, "If you want to apologize, I'll leave it to you later. I'll treat you first." Tanaka placed Kuroki on a branch of a tree, and at the same time asked a ninja who was good at healing with water attributes to heal Kuroki, keeping his eyes fixed on Suzuki. Seeing that the opponent did not attack immediately, Shuiyu was also slightly relieved. Chakra and physical strength had just been consumed by half, but so far they have not escaped the encirclement. The situation is a bit bad, chakra consumption is too much, it seems that we have to find an opportunity to unblock the shark muscle. However, just when Suzuki was about to make a move, Tanaka gave a wink to several other ninjas. It's time for a showdown, using the previously prepared combo. Shuiyu also noticed the movement of the ninja team, the encirclement was shrinking, and the 2 ninjas who were good at using the earth escape were approaching him at this time, and I saw that the 2 hands that were approaching were forming seals at the same time. 2 done, the technique of double earth dragons. Boom! A pair of 2 entangled earth dragons suddenly burst out of the ground. And the volume is more than double the size of the Shan Tulong just now. This is not so easy to deal with, you can only avoid the edge for the time being. Don't try to escape. Shuiyu just wanted to regain a favorable position, but was stopped by the oily family of insects. I saw that the oily family opened their mouths at this moment, and there were a steady stream of black insects crawling out. Wow, that's disgusting. Yunai's poisonous insects have been refined, you can't escape. A circle of insects are coming towards Shuiyu. Let's get rid of your disgusting guy first. Shuiyu suddenly formed a seal, and suddenly stretched out her finger to the head of the Yunai clan. Water escape. The art of water and iron cannons. The water escape used to concentrate the high-density water attribute chakra at the fingertips. Although the area is small, the penetration and power are definitely not small. Pung ba la la la. At a critical moment, the Yunai clan made a thick shield from the insects to block them in front of them. Although they penetrated most of them, they were still blocked. Damn. At this time, the double earth dragon attacked. If you get hit by something like this, it would be too much trouble. Water escape. The bird hat. Shuiyu's whole body began to swell, and then turned into a big water ball with a snap sound. Shuiyu once again cast the water giant. After all, this is the strongest defensive ninjutsu of Shuiyu. 8-tailed beast jade. Boom. Shuangtulong hit the big water polo, and Shuiyu was hit and flew away. Although he did not suffer much damage, at the same time, the size of the water polo was also reduced by more than half. It's over. The ghost lights and water moon. That guy named Tanaka is actually behind him. The body hasn't finished freezing yet. And the one named Tanaka slashed over with one hand, and there was even a thunderous light on the palm of the knife. Lay done. Let's go. This Tanaka turned out to be a ninja who can use both thunder and fire at the same time. Damn, there is actually a lay done. Che la la la. Before Shueyu could react, she felt that her whole body was completely paralyzed by electricity, and she couldn't even freeze into a human form at all. I can't escape. This is the thought that Shueyu flashed when she was hit by the thunderbolt. At this moment, there is still a melee below, but Shueyu has been tied up and sealed chakra, and arrested him Tanaka and a few others on a sturdy tree. It's really the right time and place. This terrain is too beneficial to us. If we were involved in the brutal melee below, it would be hard to say. The Earth Escape ninja named Zuya said excitedly. This is to catch a member of the Eagle organization. I can't let my guard down yet. You know, how are the others? Most of the people are out of the melee, but 13 people are still out of touch. Is that so? Immediately use bugs to inform everyone that the arrest of the ghost lights and water moon was successful. It is not easy to stay here for a long time. Immediately leave the battlefield and gather at the previously agreed meeting point. Tanaka quickly gave the order. Got it, Captain Tanaka. The Yunai family murmured a few words, and Shueyu saw a small group of bugs flying away to other places. Seeing that her capture was a foregone conclusion, Shueyu also gave up her resistance, but said with a sneer on her face, "Hey, just to deal with me alone, so many elites have been dispatched, the ninjas of your 5 kingdoms are still." Boom. Since Shueyu was captured, the Black Wood has been staring at Shueyu with endless hatred in his eyes. Hearing Shueyu's provocation, he immediately kicked Shueyu and interrupted Shueyu. Words. Enough, Kuroki. Don't be provoked by the enemy. He is now a very important prisoner and hostage, and he must be brought back to the shadows to deal with. Cut. I know. Ha ha. Shueyu made a disdainful sneer at Haimu again, but he was actually a little worried in his heart. It is obviously unrealistic to escape from this situation. After all, he is not only restricted by his actions, but also by so many. Shangnan was escorted, and once he did anything, he would be discovered, and there was no way to escape. And at this moment, on the edge of the battlefield where the irrational sound ninjas were fighting, a member of the Eagle organization team slowly walked over. Several irrational Yin-Ren also saw him at the same time, and they rushed up immediately from a distance. Huh. Seeing the irrational Inobu killing each other in front of him, the person who came slowly frowned. HMPH. You actually have the courage to shoot at me, have you lost your mind because of the curse mark? It's really a mob, since that's the case. The corner of the person's mouth raised a contemptuous smile. Then there's a flash of light. PFF'd. Just a moment. The visitor has already appeared, dozens of meters away. And behind him was blood splattering, a head with a dead head and eyes widened, floating in the air before it even landed. Pat. The cold soldier in his hand was dripping with scarlet blood, and more than a dozen Yin-Ren were already dead. Even the irrational Oninin felt terrified when he saw this scene. The sound ninja nearby trembled and looked at the person who came. Someone said with a cold sweat, "You. Uchiha Chen. Master Chen is back." Those out-of-control curse-marked experimental subjects who were so angry just now that they wanted to tear others apart, they were all trembling and they were dumbfounded. Because of one person, Uchiha Chen. Chapter 328, The Arrival of Uchiha Chen. This is really Lord Chen. Lord Chen, you're back, At this time, Uchiha Chen looked at the scene in front of him and understood that the group of guys had actually started fighting within themselves, so he couldn't help shaking his head, but he was only slightly displeased, and soon relieved. He didn't have much expectations for these sound ninjas at all. These guys were originally called to create some trouble for the ninja coalition. The main reason at that time was to let Obito see his own strength, and disturb the ninja coalition, that's all. However, even if these guys have given them stronger power, their nature has not changed, especially the group of cursed experimental subjects. They are simply a group of rabble. Besides, even Shueyu and Chongo couldn't control these guys at all, especially after they gained more powerful power. They became even more lawless. Seeing that, the other Yin-Ren were overwhelmed by the power emanating from Chen's body, and fear kept emerging in their hearts, and even those arrogant Curse Seal experimental subjects were also oppressed by Chen's powerful momentum at the moment, and they all retreated directly. In the original form, more people fell directly to the ground. Lord Chen. No, the few Yin-Ren who were kneeling in front of Chen, were looking at Chen in fear, at a loss, without the arrogant attitude that was so arrogant before. They shivered like a group of little sheep standing in front of a big bad wolf. The kneeling Yin-Ren hadn't finished speaking, when Chen suddenly raised a hand slowly, and a pitch-black ball about the size of a fist appeared in his hand. Hey, it's really a mob, since you also if you want to fight, then I will satisfy you, just. I also want to try some new things. Those few Yin-Ren obviously realized something. Their eyes widened suddenly, looking at the small ball in Chen's hand. Their bodies trembled even more, but they were too scared to speak, and they just stared blankly for a while. Zhu Chen's movements did not show any movement at all. Are you afraid? I originally thought that you would explode under oppression. It really made me look forward to it in vain. Cannon fodder is always cannon fodder and can't support the wall at all. In this case, let's turn you into real garbage. Quote. Chen looked at the small ball and said slowly, and then a black light visible to the naked eye radiated from the small ball, and the few sound ninjas that were closer, including the flowers and trees, all turned to ashes in an instant. Bang bang bang. The sound of a few farther away also exploded directly and turned into nothingness. Now Chen has naturally merged with the Ten Tails, and because of the powerful force that affects his heart, he has no scruples at this time, and his actions have become unscrupulous. However, these sound forbearance and curse mark experimental subjects still have a little value to use, so Chen naturally did not intend to kill them all. After all, he also spent a lot of resources on these guys. No matter what, he can still play a role. It's not possible to just waste it in vain. Just kill a few to have a shocking effect. Everything is going according to your own plan. The small ball slowly floated behind Chen. It turned out to be a small begging jade. As for you. Chen took a deep breath and looked at the crowd, who were already shocked by his own means, and snorted coldly. I'll deal with it later. Now, give I stay here peacefully. If you dare to make trouble again, these people will be your fate. After finishing speaking, Chen Bian ignored the cannon fodder who were kneeling on the ground, glanced in the direction where the Ninja Alliance group of people were leaving, then sneered and pondered in a low voice. The next thing to solve is you guys. Come on, the scumbags of the Ninja Alliance. Immediately followed by a flash, it instantly disappeared in place. At the same time, in the woods, the people of the Ninja Alliance were retreating after successfully capturing the Ghost Lights and Water Moon. At this time, an unknown little bug suddenly appeared. After seeing this bug, the Oil Girl clan the ninja immediately stopped and stretched out a finger, and the little bug also stopped on his finger, only to see the ninja of the oily girl, suddenly trembling. What's wrong? Tanaka on the side immediately noticed the difference and asked nervously. The members of the Yuno clan were covered in cold sweat and looked up with pale faces. Although they had eyes on them, they couldn't see any expressions, but from his pale complexion, it could be seen that he was nervous at the moment. Uchiha Shin appeared. What did you say? Uchiha Chen appeared. The other ninjas immediately became nervous when they heard it. At this time, Tanaka, although shocked by hearing the news of Uchiha Chen, still resisted his inner uneasiness and asked calmly, is the information accurate? The oily ninja looked at Tanaka, and replied in a deep voice, before, for the sake of the past, I left a group of bugs there to monitor the group of ninjas. I didn't expect it to be a prayer so soon, and the news was passed on to the bugs. I can't be wrong. It's too bad, it will be at this time. Just a piece of news made the hearts of the ninjas here sink to the bottom. Except for Shueyu. After hearing the news of the boss, he who was still worried about his own situation instantly became relaxed. Aha, you are in big trouble now. What are you going to do next? Do you treat our boss in the same way as me? I really want to see our boss being rounded up. Ha 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 tilde tilde tilde. He has no worries now, and has resumed his sloppy appearance, schadenfreude laughing at the people of the Ninja League. Obviously, he is brooding about the fact that he was rounded up by a group of people from the Ninja League. You bastard. Bang. As soon as he heard Shueyu's ridicule, Haimu couldn't restrain himself again, punched down, and immediately blocked Shueyu's mouth. This time, no one came out to stop Haimu from abusing the captives, because they couldn't care about it now. Chapter 329, Confrontation. The people of the Oil Girl family are naturally taciturn, calm, and after the initial surprise, they quickly regained their composure, and said solemnly, Captain, Uchiha Chen seems to have discovered us, and should be heading towards us now. We're chasing, and at our speed, the odds of getting rid of him are unlikely. I know, if we leave like this, it will be too late, and we must not let the ghost light Shueyu go away. In any case, we have to bring back the ghost light water moon, which is likely to let us know about Uchiha Chen. More information, so that we will be more advantageous when we face Uchiha Tatsuya next. As the captain of this elite team, Tanaka is naturally not a generalist. He quickly analyzed the current situation and had already made a decision. Tanaka gritted his teeth and said with a solemn expression, Kurogi, Zuya, Neijun and Chinchi, you all go with the ghost lamp Shueyu first, and I will stay with everyone to restrain Uchiha Chen. What, Captain, how can we? The ninjas who were left behind also knew what they were going to face next, but everyone did not protest. Their faces were determined. The previous panic no longer existed, but those who were named the ninja, however, showed pain and unwillingness on his face. Tanaka's determination did not waver. Seeing that the named ninjas didn't even move, he shouted angrily, time is running out, stop talking nonsense. Obey the order and escort Ghost Lantern Shueyu to leave here quickly, otherwise it will be too late. The opponent is that Uchiha Chen. A character who is powerful enough to fight the 5 shadows at the same time. If he is caught up, there is no hope at all. Someone must stay as a bait to hold Uchiha Chen, otherwise all our efforts will be lost. Wasted. Here. Tanaka was about to continue to say something, but was interrupted by the oily girl's deep voice. There were only 2 short words, but everyone present was shocked. They knew what these 2 words meant, and some even exclaimed, what? Damn it, is it too late? Tanaka scolded bitterly, then turned around and shouted at Kuroki and the others, what are you still doing? Hurry up with the ghost lamp Shueyu, we will deal with it here, go. Damn, we got it, Captain. Kuroki hugged Gaidong Shueyu on his shoulders, gave Tanaka and the others a sad look, gritted his teeth at the end, turned around abruptly, and shouted to the other 3 teammates around him at the same time, let's go. However, just as they were about to leave, an indifferent voice suddenly sounded. It's really touching, since it's so reluctant, then it's better to stay. As soon as the words fell, a figure was already sitting on the treetops behind them. He was wearing a long-sleeved cloud robe and a slender sword around his waist. He slowly raised his head with a playful look on his face. Uchiha Chen. A huge coercion instantly descended on the crowd. Almost everyone is out of breath. Uchiha Chen. Tanaka nervously shouted to Chen in the distance. After this Uchiha Chen appeared, he felt as if he was facing a violent tailed beast. No, even scarier than a tailed beast. Now we must find a way to delay time, at least let others escape with Shueyu. But Chen didn't care about Tanaka's words at all. He just looked at Shueyu, who was on the side, and said with a joking smile, it's really embarrassing, Shueyu, to be reduced to such a level. His tone was very indifferent, as if he was reminiscing with an old friend, and Shueyu, who was held by Kuroki on his shoulders, smiled awkwardly and said, hee tilde no way, these guys are trying to catch me. But I have used a lot of methods, and I can't handle it. I'm not as perverted as you are." The two of them had a conversation with no one else, which was in stark contrast to the group of people from the Ninja League who were facing a formidable enemy. Chen sneered and said, "Hey, you can only blame yourself for being too vigilant." Shuiyu naturally wouldn't admit her fault, and hurriedly said, "I can't blame it all. Who let them take my timing so well? When I was there before, his little animals would be responsible for vigilance. I'm used to it. Who knew that the guy from Chengwu had just left, and these people from the Ninja Alliance appeared, and I didn't react. Shugego, I've wondered why I haven't seen him since just now. What's going on with him?" Shuiyu said helplessly, "It's because of that guy Sasuke." Sasuke. Chen was stunned when he heard Sasuke's name, which was obviously beyond his expectations. The little animal he sent out to collect information found Sasuke's whereabouts, and then he went to Sasuke regardless, leaving me there to look after the group of idiots, which made me end up like this. Shuiyu said in a displeased tone. Having said that, he is obviously blaming Chengwu. He thinks that if it wasn't for Chengwu's sudden departure, he would not have fallen into the group attack of the Ninja League and ended up being captured. Chen didn't pay attention to Shuiyu's complaint. At this time, he frowned slightly, obviously thinking about Sasuke. Sasuke. Have the eyes completely merged? But why didn't he come back? Seeing that Chen was absent-minded at the moment, Shuiyu hurriedly pleaded pitifully, "Boss, don't think about other things first, let's just look at the front." Shuiyu's words interrupted Chen's thoughts and was pulled back to reality. Looking at Shuiyu's embarrassed appearance, she shook her head helplessly and said, "Forget it, let's get rid of these guys in front of you first." And hearing Chen's words, the nerves of all the ninjas present were all tense in an instant. However, before they could make a move, in the next instant, Chen Yuan disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was already behind Kuroki. This is Chen's Flying Thunder God technique. See. Haimu was the first to feel the crisis, but just as he was about to draw his sword, he found that his hands had already fallen to the ground. "Ah!" howled in pain. "How could it be? My hand!" With a flash of light, Shuiyu fell heavily to the ground, and at the same time lifted the restraint. And Chen stood there indifferently. In an instant, the ninja coalition team fell short. Tanaka was the first to regain his composure. "Damn, everyone, attack!" Secret art. Bad bugs. 2 done. Earth Dragon Bomb. Water Escape. The technique of the Great Waterfall. Fire Escape. Great Fireball technique. More than a dozen kinds of ninjutsu attacked Chen Uchiha in an instant. Boom. The place where Uchiha Chen was originally was a mess. There is a big hole. However. You're so naive. The scattered smoke and dust gradually scattered, and all the ninjas stared at the barrier in front of them with wide eyes in despair. A high wall made of black flames. The inextinguishable flame, the fire of Amaterasu. Chapter 330, Lore. The high wall made of black flames burns. The temperature has risen suddenly. This is the inextinguishable flame, Amaterasu. This scorching high temperature, Shuiyu, who was with Uchiha Chen in the distance, couldn't stand it. As a ghost lamp family, he only has an affinity for water, and he still dislikes things like flames. At this point, all ninjas are trapped in the black fire cage. Uchiha Chen has already revealed a pair of scarlet kaleidoscope writing wheel eyes. Looking at the people in the dark flames, Chen Ruo was thinking, as if thinking about something. "Ah, just right, just use that trick." Uchiha raised his hand, facing the fire cage, a pitch-black sphere condensed from his fingertips. This is... Shuiyu on the side saw this scene, and her eyes widened in surprise. Chen was always able to display all kinds of things, which refreshed Shuiyu's cognition almost every time. Suzuki is surprised every time a new ability appears. Looking at the familiar scene, Shuiyu couldn't help but exclaimed, "This is not the tailed beast." Chen glanced at Shuiyu and said lightly, "Ah, it's the tailed beast Jade, are you surprised?" "It's a little bit." Shuiyu smiled awkwardly, although she didn't quite understand why Chen was able to condense the tailed beast Jade, but after thinking about it, Chen can even control 9 tails, what else can't be done? Tailed beast, there is really no fuss about Jade, so I don't care. When the tail beast Jade condensed on the fingertips to the size of Chen's fist, Chen's eyes sharpened, the scarlet kaleidoscope slowly turned, and the fist-sized tail beast Jade suddenly fell into the black circle of fire. Then, boom! A pillar of fire appeared in the sky. Incomparably violent explosion wave rushes. Gravel and trees are mixed in. Even Shuiyu was unable to stabilize her body by the force of this shock wave, and finally managed to stabilize her body by barely holding Chen. Hey, boss, this power. Shuiyu swallowed, she really didn't know what to say. The black fire cage originally made by Uchiha Chen was about 100 meters in diameter, and the distance between them was also 100 meters away. And at this moment, nothing can grow within that 100 meters. Those ninjas trapped in the fire cage used their own defensive ninjutsu at the moment of the explosion, but now most of them have turned into nothingness. An understatement, killing a large piece of Jonin in seconds, Uchiha Chen's powerful strength is fully revealed. Well, Chen frowned as he looked at the scope and power of the explosion, and seemed a little dissatisfied. In fact, the reason why Chen can use such power is because he has indeed fused with the 10 tails. But it still takes a little time to get used to it skillfully. After all, the power of the 10 tails is too huge. Even if the tailed beast he cloned has no consciousness, the fusion with him is completely without any sense of resistance, but it takes a little time to fully use it freely, or you can directly fight a battle, and gradually become familiar with and control this power in the battle. The reason why Chen will come out this time is just because he wants to try this power after integrating the 10 tails, just like a child who can't wait to play after getting the toys he wants. When he first came out, Chen was thinking of trying his power on the battlefield, but when he first found the place where Shuiyu was, he happened to encounter the riot of Yunnan, and Shuiyu was also captured by the people of the Ninja Alliance. The previous scene. Looking at the pit created by Chen's tailed beast cannon, Shuiyu thought of something and asked suspiciously, "Boss, have you turned yourself into a human pillar force?" Chen looked at Shuiyu, nodded and said calmly, "Ah, that's right, I have indeed become a Renjuli." Boss, you let us capture the tailed beast, don't you just want to become a human pillar force?" "What's wrong with that?" "That's not true, but boss, since you can already control the 9 tails, why do you want to turn yourself into a human pillar? With your strength, the tailed beasts are no longer useful to you, right?" Shuiyu really didn't understand it very well. After all, he didn't know that what Chen was going to become was a 10-tailed person Zuli, not an ordinary person Zuli, so he was puzzled. "I naturally have my reasons for doing this, but you, the group of idiots who originally made you look at Yin Nin, not only failed to look good, but even themselves were captured by the ninja people, what a shame." Hearing that Chen brought up the old things again, Shuiyu still had a lot of time to think about it, and said with an embarrassed smile on her face, "Didn't you say it before? I can't completely blame me for this, I didn't expect them to still have people. I can use Lei Dun, I was restrained by Lei Dun before I even had time to use my shark muscles. You know, the thing I can't stand the most is Lei Dun. And those idiots are not easy to control. If 1 or 2 people make trouble, they can solve it casually, but this time because of the deliberate provocation of the Ninja Federation, the whole team is going crazy, and I can't do anything by myself. In the end, it's not that your vigilance is too bad, so many people have mixed into the team and you haven't noticed it. If I didn't happen to show up this time, you would have been taken away by the Ninja Alliance, but since everyone is fine, then even if..." Seeing Shuiyu's embarrassed appearance, Chen didn't continue to hurt him. After thinking about it, he said, "As for the group of idiots in Yinren, although they are a group of rabble, they are not useless. Since they are so eager to fight, let them they have a good fight, then you can lead them to fight directly with the Shinobi Alliance, let them release their killing desires to their heart's content, and give play to their last bit of value." Quote. Shuiyu nodded and asked, "Boss, what about you?" "I still have a few things to deal with, and I'll join you again when my business is over. I see. After Chen gave Shuiyu a few simple explanations, he and Shuiyu returned to the forest position again. At this time, the Yin Ren no longer dared to be as majestic as when Chen was away, and they all seemed to be stared at by eagles. Just like the little chickens, they didn't dare to move. Seeing that this group of invincible thugs looked like good babies at this time, Shuiyu was really speechless. Chen's cold eyes glanced at the stunned Yinjin, exuding a formidable coercion, and said in a calm tone, "When I'm not here, Shuiyu represents my will. What happened before, I don't want to see you again. To the second time, otherwise, you have no need to exist." In the end, Uchiha Chen didn't say any more nonsense. After giving Shuiyu a look at yourself, he flickered and disappeared in place. It's the boss's consistent style. Shuiyu sighed, shook her head and didn't think about it anymore, because there were still more headaches for him. The children's corps was waiting for him to lead. However, not long after Shuiyu and Chen separated, a ninja from the Ninja Alliance who survived was rushing to the headquarters of the Ninja Alliance. It's Kuroki. Kuroki didn't know why he was still alive, but when he woke up, he really wasn't dead. Although he lost his hands, Kuroki must inform the Ninja Alliance. He doesn't let other people die in vain. This is the only thing he can do now. Chapter 331. Ninjas Shock and Luju's Analysis. What? Uchiha Chen appeared. Somewhere in the headquarters of the Ninja Allied Forces, among the 5 shadows, except for Tsukage, who is still protecting the daimyo, the other shadows are talking about the current combat situation. The current situation is very bad. Not only the huge number of Baiju, but also the Shao organization somehow used the forbidden technique of reincarnation to summon a large number of powerful ninjas who died in the past. This is not just the power of strength, it is a cruel thing for many ninjas in this world to fight with their elders, relatives and partners in the past. The situation on the battlefield is changing rapidly, and even the shadows who originally planned to retain their strength have gone out to support several operations. It can be said that they are busy enough. Are you saying that Uchiha Chen will use the tail beast Jade? He is very likely to be Renzuli. Gaara sat aside, frowning slightly as he looked at the intelligence officers behind Chief of the General Staff Kakashi and strategist Nara Shikahisa. Yes, Kazekage-sama. The intelligence officer on one side recounted it again. Because of the loss of contact with several logistics teams before, the perception department discovered an abnormal place, and there was a team of thousands of people lurking. The organization's conspiracy, so a temporary team composed of Shengnan was called to investigate, and it turned out that the enemy was not the Akatsuki organization, but Yinin. Sound Ninja, Orochimaru's ninja village. The 5 generations of Hokage Tsunade in the 5 shadows frowned slightly. After all, no matter what, Orochimaru, who belongs to the 3 ninjas, is a comrade in arms who has fought together, so she still knows some things about Orochimaru. Gaara heard the words, closed his eyes, and said solemnly, "Is it the Yinin village in Tianjiguo? It's really a very unpleasant memory." Orochimaru killed the 4th Kazekage, and used the transformation technique to transform into Kazekage to bewitch Saiyan to attack Konoha, and launch the Konoha collapse plan. Both the 4th Kazekage and the 3rd Hokage died in the hands of Orochimaru. It caused heavy losses to both Saiyan and Konoha, and when did Gaara meet Naruto? And now that he was mentioned in Yinin village, Gaara couldn't help but think of this somewhat unpleasant past. Lei Ying obviously also heard about Yinin village, especially after Uchiha Chen took control of Yinin village. As a military advisor, Nara Shikahisa nodded and said, "Yes, the size of this shinobi village is indeed not comparable to the background of the 5 major countries, but it should not be underestimated, especially after Orochimaru was killed by Uchiha Sasuke. This shinobi the village has already been controlled by Uchiha, and the current Yinin village should be regarded as Uchiha's base, and even the name of Tianjiguo is also controlled by him." Tokage Onogi said to the intelligence officer who reported the work before, "Tell me about the information you have collected." The intelligence personnel recounted the information brought back by the surviving ninja Kuroki. The more people present, the more shocked they were. They were completely shocked by the strength displayed by the sound of Ninja Village. The number of people, thousands, the strength, Junin. Thousands of legions with strengths at the Shengnan level. It is simply impossible for any ninja village to come up with such power, that is more than 1,000 Junin. The grumpy Raikage stood up abruptly and shouted at the intelligence officer, "Impossible, how could a small sound ninja village have so many Junin?" Seeing Raikage getting irritable again, Tsukage couldn't help shouting, "Calm down, Raikage." Damn it. Raikage also clearly realized that his behavior was a little wrong, so he suppressed the madness in his heart and sat down again. Gaara closed his eyes and pondered for a while, and then said in a deep voice, "Orochimaru is keen on the experiments of various forbidden techniques, which even includes human experiments that make people talk about tigers. Shinobi has fought against each other, and I have seen the power of a curse mark, which can greatly improve the strength of the ninja. It is really amazing. Is this something developed by Orochimaru?" The newly appointed 6th-generation Mizukage is a middle-aged man who looks a little slender. At this time, he said suspiciously, "But, hasn't Orochimaru been killed by Sasuke Uchiha?" Tsunade clenched his fists tightly, hammered the table, and said bitterly, "Damn, the reincarnated army organized by Akatsuki has already exhausted us to fight, but now there is a force like Yinin. If thousands of people, it would be very unfavorable to our current situation if all the Junin were thrown into the battlefield." Quote. The shadows present fell into contemplation one by one at this time. After all, after learning of the strength of the enemy, even they couldn't help but feel a little distressed. But there is one person who has remained calm from beginning to end, and that is the genius strategist known as the brain of Konoha, Nara Shikahisa. After hearing this information just now, he fell into contemplation. Even when the shadows were talking, it didn't affect him. At this time, his originally frowning brows had been sent down, as if he had caught some important information. Cough cough tilde tilde. Nara Shikahisa first coughed twice, attracting everyone's attention, and waited until everyone looked at him before saying, "Everyone, it's not that we don't have a chance." Hearing this, the spirits of all the shadows were shaken. The genius strategist Nara Shikahisa, known as the brain of Konoha, they all had a deep understanding. If it was him, there might really be a way to solve the problem in front of him. The impatient Raikage asked anxiously, "Nara Shikahisa, have you already thought of a plan?" Nara Shikahisa shook his head and replied, "No, I haven't thought about the plan yet, but from the information just now, I found a little bit, and combined with what Kazekage said, it further confirmed my idea." Nara Shikahisa didn't sell anything, and said in a deep voice, "According to the analysis of the information just now, these sound ninjas are not very united, and they don't have a sense of teamwork, unless someone who can absolutely deter them appears to integrate them. And these people are undoubtedly very irritable. Once they are stimulated, they will become irrational, and they will frantically attack anyone in front of them." Aftermath. Looking at the puzzled people, Luju continued to analyze. "That's right, from the situation of Junmalu just mentioned by Kazekage, something that can greatly improve the strength of the human body is definitely not without a price. Maybe they all of them were developed by Orochimaru to improve their strength, but they also had a negative effect and became irritable. It can be seen from Tanaka and the others that just a little provocation caused such a big confusion. A team of thousands of Junin is really hard to resist, but if you want to deal with a group of beasts that have lost their minds, there are many ways." Chapter 332, Gaara's Thoughts. Everyone's eyes lit up after hearing Nara Shikahisa's analysis. Yes, an army of thousands of Junin is really hard to resist, but if you want to team up with a group of beasts that have lost their minds, there are many ways. From the information brought back by Kuroki, it is not difficult to see that although these sound ninjas are extremely powerful, they are extremely manic and do whatever they want. Their words, like beasts, will only brutally use force to solve problems, and never need brains. It's not difficult to deal with such a simple-minded guy who will only be reckless. 5 Hokage Thousand Hands Tsunade nodded and said, "It sounds right, maybe things are not as bad as they imagined." The meeting room, which had originally been dignified after hearing the information about Oninin village and the whereabouts of Uchiha Tatsuya, was slightly relieved after listening to Nara Shikahisa's analysis, at least not as nervous as before. Although the Tonin thing made them a little relieved, their pressure did not decrease much, because there was a more difficult problem in front of them. As the youngest shadow in the audience, Gaara glanced at everyone present, and said solemnly, "Okay, let's continue to talk about the information about Uchiha Chen. Since that guy has appeared, come to us. It's not a good thing to say, he's threatening, I believe we all feel it. If he appears on the battlefield, it's really not good." Onogi nodded and said with deep conviction, "Yes, with his strength, the ninjas fighting on the front line may not be able to do anything to him. If we rashly attack him, it will definitely cause great casualties. Unless we among the 5 people, it is possible to contain him if more than 2 shot together, but the Akatsuki organization has to guard against it, which is really a headache." Quote. The information brought back by Kuroki mentioned that Uchiha Chen seems to have become a human pillar force, but with his strength, he will take the initiative to become a human pillar force. It seems that there is no need for this, it is more and more unpredictable. Quote. It's really puzzling why Uchiha Chen became a human pillar force. After all, with the strength he has shown, there is no need to become a human pillar force at all. The effect of the tailed beast on him should not be great. It is better to directly control the tailed beast to attack. That would be more destructive. Of course, it was impossible for them to think that Chen had indeed become a human pillar, but it was not the human pillar they knew, but a 10-tailed human pillar that was many times stronger than the 9-tailed beast. Force. They know very little about the 10 tails, and they only learned one-sidedly from the masked man's mouth, and they even have doubts. After all, this kind of thing is too unimaginable and beyond their cognition. Even the legendary 6 Paths Immortal, whether it really exists, they can't be sure. Most ninjas have always thought it was just an ancient myth and legend. They have never even heard of the 10-tailed beast, which is even more mysterious than the immortals of the 6 Paths, so all these are just one-sided words of the masked man, and they have no way to verify it. The irritated Reikage punched the stone table and said angrily, "There's nothing strange about this kind of thing. That guy, like the bastards organized by Akatsuki, started catching Renzuli everywhere a long time ago. Our Yunyins are way. Renzuli was captured by Uchiha Chen's group, and if he wants to become Renzuli, he can do it at any time. However you look at this matter, it's weird. Let's not talk about why Uchiha Chen's strength still needs to be transformed into a human pillar, and there is another thing that is even more puzzling. Since he is attacking Yunyin and when Konoha once summoned a 9-tailed, what is the 9-tailed in Naruto? Is there another 9-tailed existence in this world?" Nara Shikahisa pinched the beard on his chin, "If there is any thoughts. In the end, it's too bizarre to have 2 9-tails or something." The vicissitudes of life was unhurried, and Tuying rubbed his temples. "My old man is quite old, but I have never heard of this kind of thing." "Things? No," Fangying Gaara exclaimed suddenly, attracting everyone's attention. "Oh, Kazekage, what do you think?" Gaara didn't answer immediately, but frowned slightly, as if thinking about something. "Fangying, don't give a shit at this time, tell me what you found." Reikage asked Gaara eagerly. The eyes of several other people also focused on Gaara, who sat at the table with his fingers crossed, and slowly explained, "About Uchiha Chen's capture of the tailed beast, I thought of a detail." Quote. At this time, no one asked any questions, and looked at Gaara quietly, waiting for him to continue. Gaara also didn't betray and continued. "Everyone knows that before I became Kazekage, my identity was Cheyon's 1-tailed human pillar. Gaara is the identity of Cheyon's Zuli. Everyone here is very clear, so no one is surprised, and they all know that Gaara has also been targeted by the people of Xiao's organization. The people in the organization took out the tailed beast, and everyone looked at Gaara suspiciously, wondering why he would talk about this matter. Actually, before the Akatsuki organization extracted the guardian crane from my body, Uchiha Chen first came to me. At that time, I didn't know Uchiha Chen, but regarded him as Uchiha Sasuke." Hearing Gaara's words, Tsunade seemed to have an impression and said, "Could it be that time?" I nodded in love and said, "That's right, it was the time Tamari asked for help, and it was only after that I came to know about Uchiha-chen." Toying already knew what Gaara wanted to express, and said, "Uchiha-chen came to you because of the tail beast in your body." "Yes, his purpose is indeed to keep the crane." Reikage asked, "Did he fail?" It's not surprising that Reikage asked this question. As we all know, once Renzuli is extracted from the tail beast, then Renzuli himself will die. Since Gaara's tail beast was extracted by the people of Xiao's organization, then Uchibo-chen should not have been successful at that time. Gaara closed his eyes, recalled the situation at the time, and replied, "No, I think his purpose should have been achieved." Then why? Since Uchiha's goal was Shuhei, and it was successful, why is Gaara still alive, and Shuhei was not extracted by Uchiha? Everyone present was a little confused. Gaara explained, "Because he said at the time that all he needed was a small amount of chakra. He should have gotten what he wanted when I lost consciousness, so he would let me go." Tailed beast chakra. This time, everyone was even more puzzled, leaving the tailed beast without catching. Just a little chakra, what is the use of this kind of thing? Funnying, just say whatever comes to your mind. The impatient Reikage obviously couldn't stand Gaara's slow way of speaking, and hurriedly urged. Uchiha-chen only started to capture Renzuli later. Maybe Renzuli was just a guise for a hoax. From the very beginning, his real purpose was actually the chakra of the tailed beast. Chapter 333. Insight into the Konoha brain of Chuhao. Uchiha's goal is the tailed beast chakra. What else can this tailed beast chakra do? Could it be that this tailed beast chakra hides some unexpected abilities? Everyone really couldn't understand it, but it was true from Kazekage Gaara's words. After all, Gaara did get into Uchiha-chen's monthly reading at that time. At that time, he was like a slaughter in front of Uchiha-chen. Lamb, there is no room for resistance at all. If Uchiha-chen's purpose at that time was the tailed beast, he could have taken Gaara away and then pulled out the tailed beast. However, he didn't do that, and Uchiha-chen himself admitted at the time that he had already obtained what he wanted and was about to leave, but he happened to meet Kakashi and others who came to hunt down Sasuke. It was also at that time that Chen's identity was known. In fact, Gaara's guess is already inseparable. Chen's purpose is indeed the chakra of the tail beast. At that time, Chen had just escaped from the Konoha village, and his behavior was not as stable as he is now. At that time, his strength was only at the level of Junin, and when he went to the kaleidoscope that just opened his eyes, it was only the elite Junin. To a certain extent, it also relied on the ability of the kaleidoscope to defeat Kakashi. At that time, he didn't have the ability to extract the tailed beast in the body of human Zuli, and he could only extract chakra by relying on the tools exchanged by the system. It was also through continuous battle and experience that he continued to grow, become more calm, and his ability also changed. It became more powerful, and it was only later that he began to change from collecting tailed beasts' chakra to capturing tailed beasts. If Chen was here, he would definitely admire Gaara's intelligence, this genius who became the shadow of the village at such a young age, although he seems indifferent on the surface and doesn't seem to care about anything, but in fact he has a supernatural power. With the attentiveness of ordinary people, he was able to speculate on his purpose from some details from many years ago. But even if he knows Chen's purpose, Chen probably won't care. After all, his purpose has been achieved, and the matter of becoming a 10-tailed man is a foregone conclusion. He doesn't need to hide anything at all, and he is not afraid of anyone knowing. Although he already knew Uchiha Chen's goal, he didn't understand why he did it, and what was the use of collecting the tailed beast chakra. Everyone fell into contemplation again. The irascible Reikage couldn't understand, and roared angrily, if Uchiha Chen's motive is only to collect chakra, then what is his purpose of collecting the tailed beast chakra? Can he still be able to do it with just a little chakra? Can you make a tailed beast? It seemed that it was just a casual and angry remark. Everyone was already used to Reikage's temperament, so they didn't care. However, Nara Shikahisa, who was stroking the beard on his chin in a contemplative manner, after Reikage shouted this sentence, his brows tightened, and the movement of stroking his beard in his hand also stopped, as if he had caught something. The speaker has no intention, the listener has the heart. Reikage's casual and angry words cleared some of Nara Shikahisa's doubts. I saw Nara Shikahisa taking a deep breath, his eyes fixed on Reikage, and he said very solemnly, maybe you were right, his purpose of collecting the tailed beast chakra may really be, to change. Tailed beast. It was really amazing. After hearing what Nara Shikaku said, the hearts of the people present shuddered, and one by one, they were either in disbelief or questioning, eyes focused on Nara Shikaku. Are you serious? Unbelievable eyes are people from Konoha village such as Tsunade and Kakashi. They clearly know Nara Shikahisa's IQ. He is known as Konoha's brain. He is not the kind of person who has no reason to think about Konoha's conspiracy. There must be some convincing basis for him to say such a thing. And those questioning eyes came from other shinobi villages, Konoha's name of the genius army, although they all heard about it. During this period of time, his analytical ability was indeed admirable, but at this moment the content of what he said is really too unbelievable. After all, everyone heard that what Reikage said just now was just unintentional angry words, and no one took it seriously, but no one thought that Nara Shikahisa would say such a thing in such an atmosphere. Come. Onogi looked at Shikahisa Nara with half-squinted eyes, and said in a deep voice, Nara's brat, now is not the time to be joking. Luju shook his head lightly, looked at Tsuchikage calmly, and said solemnly, no, Master Tsuchikage, I'm not joking now. With the affirmation of Nara Shikuji, Liang Tiancheng Onaji's expression also became solemn, and he said solemnly, say what you think of. Perhaps you don't know yet, but in fact, a forger of Zuli once happened in Konoha. Hearing Luju talking about this, Kakashi was very impressed and asked Luju, you mean the boy named Korra, in the fire temple, right? Luju nodded and replied, that's right, the boy from the Temple of Fire. Knowing that there is such a thing, everyone present was very curious, and hurriedly asked, what is the forger Zuli, what is going on? Actually, it's like this. This time, it was Kakashi who came to explain this matter to everyone. After all, he was also sent to the Temple of Fire to perform a mission at the time, so he knew best about this matter. The story was very brief, and everyone present could understand it, but Tsuchikage asked, you mean that a ninja named Kazuma in the Temple of Fire injected nine-tailed chakra into his son's body, making the man named Sora the boy who became another nine-tailed man Zuri? Kakashi nodded and said solemnly, that's right, the forged Ren Zuli has a nine-tailed chakra, and it can even be transformed into a tail beast. Different. How could such a thing happen? Yes, it's a bit unbelievable, but it's a fact. Since the human column force can be faked, can we imagine whether the tailed beast can also be faked? You mean, it's been said so bluntly, if you don't understand it, you're really an idiot, and the people present are all high-level villagers, so naturally they can't be mentally retarded. Excluding all the impossible, the remaining explanation, no matter how incredible, is the truth of the matter. Gaara squinted his eyes and pondered what Shikuku said, and found that there was really no reason to refute, and said solemnly, if Uchiha Chen collected the tailed beast chakra in order to fake the tailed beast, then it makes sense, why did he there will be a second nine tails? Actually, we should have thought of it when Uchiha Chen summoned the nine tails, but this kind of thing is so unthinkable that we subconsciously ignored it. Luju's words once again caused everyone in the conference room to fall into silence. Chapter 334, Pain's Decision. It is another unbelievable speculation. If this speculation is true, then Uchiha Chen is likely to have forged all the tailed beasts, and he is likely to have a team composed of tailed beasts in his hands. If these tailed beasts appeared on the battlefield at the same time, it would be a disaster, and they could not imagine it at all. Now the Ninja Alliance not only has to face Akatsuki's reincarnated army, but also be alert to the eagle lurking in the dark. Akatsuki has already caused them a headache, and now coupled with the unfathomable Uchiha Chen, This parrot was indeed a heavy blow for the Ninja League. Although the Ninja Alliance was established to fight against these two forces, due to the lack of intelligence, they seriously underestimated the two forces of Xiao and Ying. They did not expect that the people behind the scenes of Xiao would be so mad. Playing with the souls of the dead, bringing the dead back to the world with the technique of reincarnation, enslaving the dead as a fighting tool, plus the number of 100,000 Baiju clones, these alone make the ninja coalition overwhelmed. There is also Uchiha Chen's Eagle, an army of thousands of Jinin-level Yinin, and now there are more falsified tailed beasts that make people feel terrified. No matter what it is, the Ninja Federation feels heavy pressure. You must know that there was a big gap between these two forces in the past. Uchiha Chen of the Eagle Squad killed a lot of people from the Akatsuki organization, and directly or indirectly robbed them from the hands of the Akatsuki organization. Force. Before, they thought that the two forces were incompatible, but what they didn't expect was that Eagle and Akatsuki seemed to have reached some kind of consensus. This makes the Ninja United's situation very unfavorable. Looking at the people who looked solemn and fell into contemplation, Nara Shikahisa was also a little helpless. The Akatsuki organization was already difficult enough, but now I add an unfathomable Uchiha Chen. No matter how high his IQ is, he is absolutely invincible. In front of his strength, he also felt a sense of powerlessness, and he couldn't think of a way to deal with it for a while. When the people of the Ninja League were still at a loss for Uchiha Chen's affairs, Akatsuki's side is also experiencing the same thing. In a place surrounded by bare peaks, in the middle of the peaks, there is a lush forest, which looks a little incongruous. The most interesting thing is the one in the forest. The skeleton of a huge unknown creature can be compared with a mountain just by the skeleton, which is daunting. It is really difficult to imagine what kind of behemoth a creature with such a huge skeleton was in its lifetime. This is the cemetery of the mountain. It is the place marked by the Ninja Alliance as Akatsuki's lair on the battle map. Akatsuki's headquarters is indeed located under the ground of the mountain cemetery. With the members of the Akatsuki organization running out, the huge base was even more deserted at the moment. At this time, inside the huge base, there are only a few core figures of the Xiao organization: A Fei, Ju, Pain, Xiaonan. These four people are gathering together, and Obito is also explaining his previous conjecture to Pain. Information about Uchiha Chen, and bewitched Pain to carry out his plan. That's the way it is. If my guess is true, then Uchiha Chen is likely to have collected all the tailed beasts now, and things will be out of our control, leaving us running out of time. After telling Pain what he knew, Obito looked at Pain quietly, waiting for his statement. And after learning this information, Pain, who has always claimed to be in the name of God, can't help but feel a little anxious at the moment, but the essence of Tiandao Pain is a corpse, and he has always maintained an elite look, so it can't be seen on the surface. What a strange come. Xiao Nan, who was standing beside Pain, was obviously not fooled by Obito. She had never fully trusted Obito, and she questioned at this moment, how can you be sure that what you said is true? Facing Xiao Nan's doubts, Obito was not angry, looked at Xiao Nan indifferently, and said in a deep voice, I really don't have any definite evidence, but Uchiha Chen does control one head and 9 tails. I believe you are all in this matter. It is clear that since Naruto Uzumaki, who is the pillar force of the 9-tailed man, has not been successfully captured, what happened to the 9-tailed head controlled by Uchiha Chen? HMPH. Xiao Nan frowned upon hearing this. She really couldn't explain this matter, but she stopped answering after a cold snort. Seeing that Xiao Nan didn't refute any more, Obito turned his attention to Pain again, and asked aloud, so, what's your decision? I saw Tiandao. Pain closed his eyes, was silent for a moment, and then said indifferently, I see, I will go to the country of thunder again. This time I will bring the two people, 9 tails and 8 tails, back. Pen, you. Needless to say, I've made up my mind. Hearing Pain's words, Xiao Nan next to him couldn't keep his indifferent expression any longer, and looked at Pain worriedly, but he was interrupted by Pain before he finished speaking. Xiao Nan also knew Pain's character. See, he couldn't persuade Pain at all, he could only stare at Uchiha Obito with hatred. Obito seemed to have expected Pain to agree, so he wasn't surprised. He didn't show any displeasure at Xiao Nan's hostile gaze. He just glanced at Xiao Nan indifferently, then ignored it and continued to confront Xiao Nan. Pain said, "Since you have already decided, that's fine, but I still want to remind you that the current country of Thunder is not as good as it used to be. As the headquarters of the Ninja Coalition, there are naturally a large number of ninjas gathered there. It is better to be cautious." Good. Hearing Obito's words, Pain snorted coldly and said indifferently, "HMPH, the number of people is meaningless to me. No amount of ants can resist God's punishment. Well, just to remind you, as for what you will do, it's up to you. Since that's the case, then I should leave." Seeing this, Obito didn't say anything. After explaining it casually, he activated his space ability. With the appearance of a distorted space vortex, the whole person was sucked into the black hole. After the space recovered, Obito also as the vortex disappeared, it left the place. After seeing Obito leave, Heiju, who had been silent, also quietly sneaked into the ground, leaving only Xiao Nan and Pain. Chapter 335, The Peaceful Way in Nagato's Heart. After Obito and Heiju left, only Pain and Xiao Nan were left in the huge base. Xiao Nan didn't maintain a high cold attitude. It seemed that she would only take off her disguise when she was alone with Pain. At this time, she was looking at Pain worriedly and persuaded, "Nagato, we can no longer trust Afe. If so, he is taking advantage of us." "I know, but I have to do it. It's only one step away from our original ideal. I can't give up so easily, otherwise our efforts over the years will be in vain. I can't allow such a thing anyway. Happened, I have to get the 8 tails and 9 tails." There was no expression on Pain's immutable dead face, but the tone of his speech was not as indifferent as before, and he only showed his feelings when facing Xiao Nan. In fact, he also knew that Obito's goals were not simple, and he did not agree with the infinite moon reading that Obito said. Yahiko had opposed such a plan when he was alive, and he had accused it of being an illusion of escaping reality. Nagato has a big impact. It was also after Yahiko's death that Nagato became disappointed with the world and chose an extreme way to achieve peace, but it did not mean that he agreed with Obito's plan, and he had his own set of peace ideas in his heart. The original purpose of his collection of tailed beasts was to create a war machine that could shock the ninja world. Once this weapon is activated, the terrifying power can destroy the entire ninja world, and only under the pressure of being destroyed at any time, the ninja world can the individual countries will not continue to fight, but will unite against the Shao organization. Just like the Earth where Chen lived in his previous life, with the foreign golem, a war machine comparable to nuclear weapons. As a deterrent, the 5 major countries will definitely be under the sway of a rat, and they dare not take the initiative to launch any war against the Shao organization. In this way, at least before the ability to crack this destructive weapon, it is foreseeable that the entire ninja world will be in a delicate balance. The 5 major powers united to fight against the Shao organization, and the Shao organization acts as a deterrent to the existence of the ninja world. As long as the Shao organization does not take the initiative to provoke a war, then the 5 major countries will not dare to take the initiative to start a war against Shao, and the entire ninja world will not. There will be disputes, so that they can coexist peacefully. This is the peaceful way Nagato wants, relying on powerful outsider golems, not false illusions. And now, the work of collecting the tailed beasts has almost been completed. Only the last step is to capture and seal the remaining 2 tailed beasts, then his plan is completed. The current country of Thunder is different from the past. As the headquarters of the Ninja Alliance, not only a large number of elite ninjas have gathered, but even the shadows of various villages are gathered there at this moment. If you appear in the Thunder at this time, kingdom, you will not only face the ninjas of the 5 kingdoms, but even the 5 shadows will deal with you at the same time. With your current physical condition, if you go to the 5 shadows at the same time, I am afraid it will be very unfavorable to you. Quote. Pain looked at Xiao Nan indifferently. I know my body best, even if the 5 shadows join forces against me, I will not lose, don't worry. In fact, Pain knew his physical condition clearly in his heart, but he had to make this decision. He had to finish the sealing of the outsider golem as soon as possible before Uchiha Chen. For the ideal in his heart, he had to doing this is also the reason why he decided to go even knowing the situation in the Land of Thunder. There was not much time left for him, and he had no choice. But. Xiaonan seemed to want to persuade Pain again, but Pain obviously didn't want to say anything more on this issue. After interrupting Xiaonan indifferently, he turned around and left first. Nagato. Xiaonan is also aware of the paper bag Pain's temperament. Once he believes that things will not be easily changed, it is useless to say too much. He can only look at Pain's leaving back coldly, with worry in his eyes. At this time, Pain, who was leaving on foot, suddenly stopped, and after being silent for a while, without turning his head, he turned his back to Xiaonan and said, "By the way, this time I will go to the Land of Thunder, and I will pay it back when I go alone." "Well, you don't need to come along. If I don't come back, then you leave here immediately, leave Xiao, and don't come back." After saying this, Pain stopped staying, and Zai Xiaonan was still surprised by his words at that time. Without giving Xiaonan another chance to react, he disappeared into the darkness. Xiaonan's pupils shrank, and he seemed to have an ominous premonition. With a startled expression on his face, he hurriedly chased up to stop Pain, but Pain's figure had long since disappeared, leaving only a terrified Xiaonan in the empty base. Extremely lonely. In the forest of the mountain cemetery exterior scene, with the emergence of a wave of space fluctuations, a spiral space vortex emerged out of thin air, and a twisted human body drilled out of the space vortex. People are already standing in the open space. This is Uchiha Obito, who just left from the Akatsuki headquarters, the actual behind-the-scenes controller of Akatsuki. Almost as soon as Obito appeared, on the ground not far from him, half of Heiju's body slowly emerged from the ground, and the two seemed to be conspiring again. I saw Obito folded his arms in front of his chest, leaning against a big tree, and said indifferently, "It's going well, Nagato has promised to go to the Land of Thunder, let him play a role before recycling the Eye of Reincarnation. Let's play a final role. If we can find the whereabouts of the nine-tailed and eight-tailed people Zuri, it will be even better." Hearing Obito's words, Heiju gave a sinister smile, and said meaningfully in his hoarse voice, "It's really cold-blooded, no matter what, he is also our Akatsuki leader. For our plan, sacrifice is unavoidable, and he should also know what he will face when he goes to the Land of Thunder this time. The Land of Thunder with the 5 shadows sits in the land, even he is not fully equipped. Grasp it," but he still made up his mind. It seems that he is still as persistent as ever to the idea of making the ninja world peaceful. Even if he knew that this trip was a disaster, he still agreed without hesitation. Heiju smiled, didn't care, and continued, "Suo ga, then what are we going to do next?" Obito pondered for a while and said, "We don't have much time, we have to prepare with both hands. You first follow Nagato, and after he has caused chaos in the Land of Thunder, go to find the names of the 5 major countries. If the 9 tails, if Zuri and the 8-tailed people don't show up, then the daimyo of the 5 kingdoms will be arrested and used to force them to hand over the tailed beast. Then what about the reincarnation eye? As for the reincarnation eye, I will go and get it back myself." Got it. Chapter 336, Pain Strikes. The Country of Thunder, the Village of Union. At this moment, in the Raikage office, the shadows of the villages and the elites of the general staff established by the Ninja Federation are gathering. After Nara Shikahisa analyzed that Uchiha might have mastered an army of tailed beasts, everyone present has been thinking hard about how to deal with it. It is a pity that in the face of the pressure from Uchiha, they will meet for a while. He couldn't think of a corresponding solution. Even Nara Shikahisa, who was called Konoha's brain, was sad at the moment. Although he had thought of several plans, none of them could satisfy him in the end. However, just when a group of Ninja Alliance was at a loss, an uninvited guest came from outside Union Village. The robes of red clouds on a black background, The dead man's expressionless face has small black iron-like objects stuck in his face. His eyes are indifferently looking at Yunyin in front of him. His eyes are circles of thread-shaped reincarnation eyes without any emotion. This person is Tiandao Pain, who just left Xiao's headquarters. After hearing the news that Obito was brought back, he immediately left and felt Union Village, because he couldn't wait any longer, and he had to get the rest as soon as possible. Nine-tailed and eight-tailed seal, no more time to waste. As long as the tailed beast can be completely sealed, then his plan has been achieved. He has been waiting for this day for a long time. From now on, let the world feel the pain. After saying a line indifferently, Tiandao Pain walked in the direction of Union Village. Who? Because Pain did not deliberately hide his whereabouts, he was discovered by the ninja guarding outside Union Village before he approached Union Village. After all, it is a time of war, which is extraordinary. It is now the headquarters of the Ninja Federation. The security is heavily guarded, and any suspicious person who appears will be immediately targeted. Tiandao Pain's weird dress naturally attracted the attention of a ninja who was hiding in the dark and was in charge of vigilance. Seeing that the direction he was heading was Yunyin, the ninja team in charge of vigilance immediately appeared and jumped out to stop him. This is a team of only 6 ninjas. At this time, the 6 ninjas of the Ninja Federation could see clearly what Pain looked like. When they saw the iconic red cloud uniform with black background, they immediately recognized the identity of the other party, and their expressions suddenly changed. One of them, the ninja, exclaimed, "Red clouds on a black background. This kind of uniform can't be wrong, he is Akatsuki." Xiao. The others don't need to be reminded to know that, after all, the enemy they are fighting against now is Akatsuki, and they are naturally very familiar with the unique dress of the Akatsuki organization. Everyone be careful, this guy is Akatsuki, hurry up and alert the headquarters. A figure who looked like the captain didn't hesitate at all. The moment he recognized Pain's identity, he shouted at the teammates behind him. At the same time, he drew his saber from his back and stared at Pain vigilantly. Behind him, he secretly said nervously, "Xiao's people actually appeared here. Did they mean to attack our ninja headquarters? How many enemies are there?" However, he never found any redundant enemies. It seemed that the only enemy was this strange-looking man in front of him. Could it be that he dared to attack the headquarters of the Ninja Alliance just by himself? This is too crazy, right? Seeing that there was only one enemy, the team leader couldn't understand it for a while, but even if the other party was only one person, he still did not dare to relax his vigilance. After all, that was Xiao, and the members of that organization were all famous. The strong must not be taken lightly. After the captain had just finished shouting, a ninja from the Ninja Federation responded immediately, took out a pipe that sent a signal bomb, and pulled the lead to the sky, and a fire suddenly came out of the pipe, straight out. Climbing into the sky, when it reaches a certain height, it suddenly explodes, forming a fireworks pattern with the word ninja, which can be seen from 100 miles away, and Union not far away will naturally be able to find it. It was not until the signal was successfully sent out and launched that the team leader was relieved, but he still did not dare to relax his vigilance, stared at Tiandao Pain, and asked sharply, "You are a member of Xiao's organization, why did you appear here? For what purpose?" Pain did not stop these people from sending signals, but just looked at them indifferently, keeping silent until they successfully sent the signal flares, and said coldly, "Since your business is over, now you can answering my question. Where are Naruto, Uzumaki and Yakitori?" "What?" Hearing Pain's question, the captain was startled and exclaimed, "Your target is Naruto and Kurabi." Pain looked at the captain indifferently and raised his right hand towards him. The next moment, the captain's body suddenly rose up. At this moment, the ninja found that his body was out of control, and his face showed a look of panic, violently. He struggled, but to no avail, and then his body seemed to be attracted by an irresistible attraction, pulling his body and flying towards the man of Xiao quickly, and in the blink of an eye, he was strangled by his neck and fell into the opponent's hands. It is one of Tiandao Pain's abilities. Vientian Tianian. Do you know? Tell me, where are they? Tiandao Pain stared at the ninja in his hand with his icy reincarnation eyes, and asked indifferently. Color. Captain. Damn, let go of our captain. The rest of the ninjas saw this strange scene, and before they could react, their captain had already fallen into the hands of the enemy. At this time, they came back to their senses and raised their kunai in their hands, moving towards Tiandao Pain. Come running. Humph. Pain glanced indifferently at these ninjas who were unknowingly shooting at him, and snorted coldly without any emotion, but there was no movement, but a huge repulsive force formed in an instant, centered on him, and suddenly turned towards him. Spreading all around, everything around was razed to the ground, including the few ninjas who rushed towards him. Before they got close to him, they were knocked out by this powerful repulsion, and fell heavily like a broken sack. On the ground, did not stand up again. The captain, who was pinched by Pain's neck, witnessed all this. His face, which was originally distorted from pain, was full of horror at the moment. Such an ability was beyond his cognition. And after Pain did all this, he ignored the miscellaneous soldiers, turned his attention to the ninja team leader in his hand, and asked again indifferently, "Where are Uzumaki Naruto and Yaoiranzuli?" I don't know. The ninja was struggling violently at this time, and his hands were constantly tugging at the fingers of Tiandao Pain, trying to break free from Pain's control, but his strength was getting smaller and smaller, to no avail. Pain's hands were like cast iron, clasping him tightly. Not getting the answer he wanted, Pain was not angry, just looked at the ninja coldly, and said indifferently, "Suoga, since that's the case, then you are useless to me." After he finished speaking, Pain swung his free hand, and a long black stick suddenly fell into his hand from the sleeve, and then it penetrated the captain's heart. The squad leader's eyes widened, his body twitched a few times and then there was no movement. After throwing the corpse in his hand, Tiandao Pain flicked the blood on the stick and put it back into his sleeve. Looking in the direction of Union Village again, he continued to walk. Chapter 337, 4 Shadows Dispatched. Not getting the answer he wanted, Pain was not annoyed, just looked at the ninja coldly, and said indifferently, "Suoga, don't you know? If that's the case, then you're useless to me." After he finished speaking, Pain swung his free hand, and a long black stick suddenly fell into his hand from the sleeve, and then it penetrated the captain's heart. The squad leader's eyes widened, his body twitched a few times and then there was no movement. After throwing the corpse in his hand, Tiandao Pain flicked the blood on the stick and put it back into his sleeve. The team in charge of the guards did not delay Pain for long. It took less than a minute from Pain's appearance to the resolution of these ninjas. The direction of Union Village. At this time, a few more people appeared behind Tiandao Pain, namely the other 6 Dao Pain. At this time the 6 Dao Pain gathered together. Obviously, Nagato didn't just send a clone of Heavenly Dao. He had already asked other clones to check from different steering wheels, but he found nothing. Even the human Dao used the ability to extract souls and read memories, but there was no one. Know the whereabouts of Naruto and Kurabi? No. After Tiandao Pain pondered in a low voice, he did not express his disappointment. Of course, he is a corpse, and it is not easy to make such a complex expression. Spread apart, there must be someone in the Ninja Alliance who knows the whereabouts of 9 Tails and 8 Tails. Check one by one, extract memories, and they will always find it. Without too much hesitation, Tiandao Pain quickly thought of a countermeasure, although this downtime is simple and rude, with no technical content. As soon as he finished speaking, the rest of Pain's whoosh turned into black shadows and quickly dispersed around. It didn't take long for Union Village to think of loud explosions, and at the same time, he saw the inside of the village. Fireworks are constantly burning in different places, and riots have begun in Union. In Yun Yin's office. The senior officials of the Ninja Federation did not know that their headquarters had welcomed an uninvited guest at this moment, and they were still discussing about Uchiha Chen. At this moment, the door of the conference room was suddenly pushed open, and a Yunren entered the conference room anxiously. All the shadows in the conference room, as well as other staff members, all looked at this rash place. Yun-ren who broke in. Seeing the anxious look on Yun-ren's face, everyone present suddenly had a bad feeling, and the grumpy Lei Ying did not blame Yun-ren for his rude behavior at this time, and asked anxiously, "What happened?" The situation was urgent, and the Yun-ren didn't care about greetings at the moment, and hurriedly shouted, "The enemy is attacking, the outpost has sent a signal, there is an enemy attack." Nani? How? When they heard the news, everyone present was obviously quite surprised. After all, this is the headquarters of the Ninja Alliance. Not to mention how many ninjas are staying at the headquarters, you must know the 5 shadows of the 5 major countries, except for the water shadows who are responsible for protecting the names of various countries. Besides, the other 4 shadows are all gathered here. Who is so bold and dare to attack the headquarters of the Ninja Federation directly, and they are still at the rear of the battlefield? How did the enemy break through the front line and appear here? Narashikahisa was surprised when he heard the news of the enemy attack, but he quickly regained his composure and asked calmly, "Who is the other party? How many people are there?" That Yun-ren also regained his composure at this time, and he was no longer as flustered as he had just shown, and replied in a deep voice, "It's not clear yet, it was the signal bomb launched by the ninjas in charge of the outpost, they should be fighting the enemy now." Seeing that he couldn't find any information, Toin stood up from his seat at this time and said to Reikage, "Let's go and see for ourselves. Reikage, you are the commander-in-chief of our ninja federation, and you stay here to preside over the overall situation. Just leave the enemy's affairs to us." When Lei Ying heard this, he couldn't sit still, clenched his fists and slammed it on the table, roaring, "How is it possible? How dare you go to Union Village to be wild? How can this old man just sit back and ignore it? Leave it to Lu Ju here. Now, this old man is going to take action personally and smash all those guys who dare to offend Yun Yin to pieces." Seeing Reikage's reaction, Toin shook his head with a chuckle, and said, "Well, it's up to you." Seeing the crowd was meaningless, Reikage immediately turned around and asked the Yun ninja, "Have you sent ninjas to support the outpost?" The Yun-ren nodded and replied, "Yes, when the signal was received, Captain Ethan had already led people to the outpost for support, and it should have been." Boom. However, before this Yun-ren's words were finished, everyone in the conference room suddenly heard a loud noise. Listening to this sound, the place where the explosion occurred should not be far away, it seems to be in Union Village. Everyone's faces were shocked again. How is it possible? Has the enemy already come in? Boom. Boom. Before they could act, there was another violent explosion from other directions. Damn, no matter who it is, this old man must smash them into tens of thousands of pieces. At this moment, Lei Ying jumped like thunder, lightning flashed from his body, and his whole body was filled with this violent aura, and his hair was even more stimulated by the violent lightning. Standing up, it could be seen that Reikage was already furious at this time. Since Union Village was destroyed by Uchiha Chen once, it took a lot of manpower and financial resources to rebuild it, and it took several months to rebuild. Now, there are still people who dare to attack Union again, which directly reminds Reikage. How could Reikage be able to sit still after that humiliation, and he has such an irritable temperament? Lu Ju carefully distinguished the direction of the explosion sound, and said solemnly, "The sound of the explosion came from 6 directions, which means that the enemy was divided into 6 groups and attacked from the 6 directions of Union. Could it be that they have already surrounded Union Village? If so, there must be a large number of people needed. What method did they use to escape the battle area on the front line and the reconnaissance of the perception department to arrive here?" Of course he didn't know that the enemy who attacked Union was actually only 6 people. As for how to get here, it was actually the beast of the 6 pens who flew directly over on a flying psychic beast, and used it when he arrived at Union Village. He used psychics to bring the rest of Pain over 6 directions. Then each of the 4 of us is responsible for 1 direction, and the other 2 directions are handed over to other ninjas to resist. Let's go to support when we have solved our opponents. When the enemy was already attacking in 6 directions, he proposed. Damn, this old man has to go first. Obviously, Reikage couldn't wait anymore. After all, the enemy had already come in. He couldn't wait for a second now. After shouting, he jumped out directly from the window of Raikage's office. The remaining three shadows looked at each other, nodded, and without talking nonsense, each chose a direction and went straight to the place of battle. Chapter 338, Weird Ability. At Union Village, the land of thunder, the six paths of Pen had already invaded the village from all directions, heading straight to the Ninja World Alliance camp. Raikage is worthy of being the commander of this alliance, and he has already rushed to the front battlefield at the first time. At this time, the ninjas who stayed in the headquarters had already fought with the invaders. Damn it, is it Akatsuki who organizes that gang of bastards? It was only after Raikage arrived at the battlefield that he saw the situation of the intruder. Looking at the clothes the intruder was wearing, Raikage instantly understood the identity of the intruder. It turned out to be a member of Akatsuki's organization. To his surprise, the intruder in front of him was only one person. This is a member of the Akatsuki organization wearing a red cloud uniform on a black background. He has chestnut hair and a bloated body. Small black round objects are nailed to his face, nose and chin. At this time, he is working with the Ninja Alliance. Ninja fighting. Although there is only one enemy, his strength is very strong, and he is able to cope with the group attack by ninjas who are several times his size, and even has the upper hand. All of this stems from the strange ability of this member of the Shao organization, because this intruder can absorb other people's chakra during the battle, and any ninjutsu attacking him will be absorbed by him, resulting in a ninjutsu attack. Invalid. The intruder Raikage encountered was actually the Hungry Ghost Realm in the Six Realms of Pain, who was able to reverse the chakra cycle in his body and inhale the spell of the opponent in front of him. The inhaled chakra will disperse in the body, like falling into a bottomless swamp, and the power will be absorbed. There is only one intruder here. Could it be that the attack in this direction is just a feint to create chaos, and the other places are the main direction of attack? Seeing that there was only one enemy, Raikage couldn't help but speculate secretly. Forget it, get rid of this guy as soon as possible before going to support other places. Looking at the stalemate battle in the field, Lei Ying didn't say much, and directly turned on the Thunder Shield chakra mode. The whole body was covered by blue chakra, accompanied by thunder and lightning surging around. Hey tilde. Under the stimulation of Lei Dun, Lei Ying's speed has reached the extreme. Almost in the blink of an eye, he rushed in front of Hungry Ghost Dao, bang tilde, in Hungry Ghost Dao. With a loud bang, Hungry Ghost Road, who was fighting with the ninjas of the Ninja Federation, was directly blasted out by Raikage. In fact, when Raikage appeared, he had already noticed it, but he was being entangled by the Ninja Alliance at that time, and the speed of Raikage was too fast, and he had rushed to the point without letting him take defensive measures. In front of him, he was smashed by Raikage more than 10 meters away. You dare to attack Union Village, so be prepared to be killed by me, you bastard of the Akatsuki organization. Raikage's body was full of violent thunder and lightning at the moment, standing in front of the group of shinobi, looking at the person of Akatsuki who was punched by himself, said viciously. It's Raikage-sama. Only then did the ninjas who were fighting the Hungry Ghost Dao in the field realize that their commander was personally taking action at the moment, and just one move solved the opponent who gave them an incomparable headache, and shouted excitedly. However, ka tilde tilde ka tilde tilde. Before the few people from the Ninja Federation were happy, a strange sound came, and everyone subconsciously looked at the source of the sound, and their expressions of joy immediately turned into surprise, because they found that the original had been smashed by Raikage. Hungry Ghost Road, who flew out, actually stood up again at this time, looking at them blankly except for one arm. The people from the Ninja Federation exclaimed, how is it possible that after enduring the power of Lord Raikage, he can still stand up? How holy is this guy? They all know something about Raikage's power. At this time, Raikage was also a little surprised. He clearly knew the power of his punch just now. Although he didn't use his full strength, it was almost the same. In addition, the Lei Dun chakra wrapped around his arm and the high-speed swing. The impact of the punch, anyone who bears his punch will be seriously injured even if he doesn't die. However, the person from the Shao organization on the opposite side seemed to be nothing, and even stood up again, without even the slightest expression of pain, as if nothing had happened. Resisting the surprise in his heart, Reikage turned around and shouted at the ninjas next to him, "You guys go to other places to support, leave this guy to me." As soon as the voice fell, the chakra on his body burst out suddenly, and once again rushed towards the hungry ghost road not far ahead. "Yes, Reikage-sama." The ninjas of the Ninja Alliance didn't say much. They knew that with Reikage's strength, it would be of little use for them to stay here, and now the Union village is being invaded. The situation is urgent, they have to support other places. After the people from the Ninja Federation exchanged glances with each other, with a swoosh sound, they turned into a few black shadows and ran towards the other direction where the blasting sound was heard. At this time, Lei Ying was attacking the hungry ghost Dao. Because of Lei Dun's stimulation, his whole body was extremely fast, and he rushed towards the enemy. Lei Ying didn't want to give the enemy a chance to think. After all, it is not you on the battlefield. Death is my death, and there are other enemies attacking Union at this time. Hesitation may have teammates die every minute and second. It is Reikage's style to strike first and take a step ahead, which has always been Reikage's style. Reikage seeks to kill opponents in seconds, and then quickly reinforce other comrades in arms. But Reikage's idea was soon seen through by the other party. Although the speed of Hungry Ghost Road couldn't surpass Reikage, it was barely able to resist. No matter how fast Reikage wanted to resolve the battle, the enemy was invisibly diffusing Reikage's attack, like a crazy bison falling into a bottomless swamp. No matter how restless Reikage was, the explosion accelerated. Hungry ghosts can be resolved one by one. Damn, the power has been sucked away. What kind of power is this? After several confrontations with the evil ghost, Reikage could clearly feel that every time he came into contact with the evil ghost, his power would flow away quickly, and he had already noticed something was wrong. Try this trick. Reikage uses a variety of physical techniques while using the Thunder Shield. However, when it was still ineffective against the enemy, Reikage used the telekinesis technique to move his body to the enemy's back at high speed. Unleash a heavy burst, and concentrate the chakra of the Thunder Shield in the elbow, attacking the enemy's weak spot with all his strength. Without giving the opponent a chance to breathe too much, he lifted the enemy up again and fell to the ground with a super heavy weight. At this time, a large pit was smashed into the ground. Obviously, those who were hit by these two heavy blows basically lost consciousness. However, Reikage stood up and saw that the hungry ghost Dao stood up again as if nothing had happened. It seems that all the attacks don't work for him. On the contrary, Reikage's chakra consumed a lot at this time. Chapter 339, The Human Way Pain's Ability. Kill, howl, the battlefield is so cruel and cruel. On another battlefield in Union Village, Fengyin Gara, the youngest movie-level character, has also arrived at the scene at this moment. Like what happened to Reikage, there is only one enemy here, a black robe with red clouds. Gara recognized the identity of the intruder at a glance, glanced around, and found that there are no other enemies here. I Love Luo pondered in a low voice. Anyone from Xiao's organization, is there only one person? The member of the Xiao organization in front of him is one of the 6 ways of pain who invaded Union Village, the human way of pain's 6 ways. At this time, several ninjas have fallen to the ground under the opponent's feet. It was obvious that the human Dao only touched the bodies of the other Jonin with his hands, and quickly read out the chakra attributes of these Jonin. And immediately used Shangkei's chakra attribute to deal with these Junin. Only a few seconds of reading ability can control other people's thoughts. This ability is not understandable by these ordinary people of the Ninja Alliance, and it is completely beyond their cognition. When a ninja of the Ninja Union died in the hands of Pen's 6 Paths of Humanity, his head was pressed tightly by the opponent, and the whole person was not angry at all, like a corpse, and his pupils also enlarged. These people only know that the 9-tailed and 8-tailed people Zuli are indeed hidden together, but they don't know the exact address. It seems that people with higher positions need to be selected. After the human Dao Pain extracted and absorbed the soul of the ninja in his hand, he threw away the dead body in his hand, and the human Dao Pain had read the memory of this person, but the result did not seem to convince him. Satisfied, apart from knowing that Yutai and Kyubi were hidden, I didn't get any useful information at all. The rest of the ninjas of the Ninja Federation saw that a teammate died tragically under this strange ability. Although they felt extremely angry, they could not do anything about pain, and could only grit their teeth in hatred. One of the ninjas saw that the human way pain was so difficult, and quickly reminded the remaining teammates, "Damn, this guy's abilities are too weird. Everyone spread out, keep a distance, don't let him touch." At least until you have figured out the details of the opponent, you can no longer attack like you did just now. The other ninjas also understood it. They just surrounded the human Taoist Pain, watched the human Taoist Pain vigilantly, and did not attack him again. When Gaara first arrived, he was seeing the scene where the human world uses his abilities to extract the soul. Although they couldn't see the form of the soul, it was not difficult to guess from the actions of the human world and the self-talk. A strange ability that seems to be able to read the memory of being caught. Is this ability, is it a spiritual attack? Is it an illusion or? Looking at Pain's strange behavior, Gaara couldn't touch the opponent's ability, because their naked eyes couldn't see the human beings the extracted soul made him subconsciously think of the ability of Yudu. After all, this scene is too similar, and he himself has suffered from this illusion, was sucked into the Yudu space, and then was severely tortured. The information was forced out, and the outside world only had a second to pass. However, the ninjas whose souls were extracted from the human world died directly. This is different from the moon reading, and the moon reading is the ability to write a kaleidoscope. I do not think that the person in the Shao organization in front of me is from the Uchiha clan. Gaara is not as impatient as Raikage, and immediately starts to act as soon as they meet, but first analyzes the other party's abilities and wants to know more about the other party's intelligence. The other party obviously has a certain ability that can not only read people's memories, but also those who are hit by this ability will die. This is the conclusion that Gaara has just reached, but he still doesn't understand what the other party's ability is what, so he hasn't rashly shot yet. At this time, the human world also found Gaara's figure, and his attention was also on Gaara's body, but there was no expression on his face. He just said indifferently, "One-tailed person Zuli, Cheyenne Village, the wind shadow, the sand waterfall Gaara. Maybe your soul can give me the answer I want." Hearing the words of the human world as if talking to himself, Gaara frowned. He had already grasped the key words in it. He was surprised and secretly said, "Soul. The soul of the target," and then read the memory of the soul, and the person who was extracted from the soul died because of this. This guy has such a strange ability. After seeing the appearance of Gaara, the human world took Gaara as a target, ignored the other trash fish, and rushed towards Gaara without saying a word. Ninja's miscellaneous fish naturally also discovered Gaara's arrival. After seeing the Tao of humanity attacking Gaara, he was worried that Gaara did not understand the strange ability of Tao of humanity, and was afraid that Gaara would suffer, and quickly exclaimed and reminded him. "Lord Fengying, be careful, this Akatsuki's ability is very strange, anyone he touches will be killed." After listening to Zayu's reminder, Gaara nodded and said secretly, "It seems that this ability needs to be in contact with the target before it can be used, since that's the case." Through his own guesses and the ninja's reminder, Gaara has a general understanding of the ability of the human world. Seeing the human world attacked, he didn't panic. He immediately used the sand shuriken with his left hand, and then used his right hand. Out of the hand of sand. The two kinds of ninjutsu were formed in an instant, and even the youngest shadow was extremely skilled and quick in combat. Know that on the battlefield, every second of pause can mean death. Immediately, he made a shuriken with sand in his hand to attack the opponent, and blocked the enemy's close-range attack with the hand of sand. Gaara clearly saw through the opponent's combat intention and tried not to fight at close range with the opponent. At the same time, once the enemy is close to his body, Gaara will use the sand shield to protect himself, especially his head. The human way is to hold Gaara's head with his hand, and then extract Gaara's soul, but it has never been successful. However, in several attacks, they were all close to Gaara's body, and Pain's human Dao also wanted to use the power of the 6 paths of the heart to read some of Gaara's thoughts, but it was unsuccessful after all. Into the scorching battle. Chapter 340, The Difficult Enemy. In Union Village, at this moment, due to the invasion of Pen's 6 paths, it has become chaotic. The smoke of gunpowder that can be seen fills the entire Union Village. The ninjas who stayed in the village are also desperately resisting Pen's attack. Damn, this guy's destructive power is too great, try to stop him, absolutely can't let him in and do any more damage. A group of ninjas from the Ninja Federation looked at a man in Akatsuki uniform who was constantly projecting from his wrist. Missile Pain gritted his teeth in hatred. This Pain is the Shira Road in the 6 paths, and is good at physical skills and missile attacks. The whole body can be transformed into a living weapon of various weapons, and its destructive power is amazing. Like a human-shaped bomber, it tirelessly destroys and kills. Everywhere it goes, it is bombarded by his inexhaustible missiles. The ruins were destroyed, and the damage caused to Union Village was still on the way of evil ghosts and human beings. Damn, where did these guys come from? Why are they so difficult to deal with? Be careful. A ninja dressed in Konoha, who had just escaped the incoming missile, was preparing for the field when the Asura Dao was troubled and complained. He suddenly exclaimed before he finished complaining. It turned out that a Yunren saw that Shira Road had just released the missile on his wrist, and just wanted to take advantage of the gap when Shira Road had just released the missile to sneak up on Shira Road Pain, but he had not been allowed to get close to the enemy. Then Shira Dao Pain raised his other arm, and then the arm was disconnected from the wrist, and the clenched fist actually broke away from the wrist. Under the advancement of a flame, he rushed towards the Yunren. The speed is even faster than the previous missile attack. That Yunren obviously did not expect that Shira Dao would have such a means of attack. He was stunned for a while, and he couldn't dodge in a hurry. He was hit by the fist from Asura Dao and flew far away. It didn't stop the momentum until it crashed into a building. This is also one of Shira Dao's attack methods. By transforming his body, he uses his cut wrist as a weapon to fire. Concentrating the chakra at the incision, the arm that was propelled by the small explosion that was generated flew out in a straight line due to the strong impact. The destructive force it produces can easily break even thicker rock discs, and the wrist protected by chakra is also intact. Not only the bomb attack was released from the body, but even the body was transformed into a weapon. What kind of monster is this? Quote. A ninja from Sandian Village shouted in surprise after seeing Shira Road's attack method. Isn't this a puppet made by a puppet master by transforming his body into a weapon of all kinds? Self-conscious puppet. How could such a thing be possible? Ka tilde tilde ka tilde tilde. Ignoring the shock of the ninjas of the Ninja Alliance, after eliminating the Yun ninja, Shira Dao urged chakra, pulled back the fist that had been shot out as a missile, and reinstalled it on the wrist. It is sewn together with the fracture at the wrist, and no gap can be seen. As if readapting to the palm of his hand, Shira Dao Pain clenched his fist, then turned his attention to the ninja people in front of him again, raised his arm again, clasped his palm, and black miniature missiles emerged from the wrist. Came out. Seeing this, the people of the Ninja Union were nervous, and they immediately focused their attention on the missile on the wrist of Shira Road. Among them, the ninja dressed in Konoha reminded loudly, "Be careful, he is about to start attacking, don't hit by his weapon." Shoo tilde shoo tilde shoo tilde. With a few sharp whistling sounds, a few jet black missiles were placed on the wrist of Shira Road, and under the advancement of flames, they quickly flew towards the surrounding ninjas. The ninjas of the Ninja Federation noticed the missiles of Shira Road early in the morning, and did not dare to relax in the slightest. When they saw the missiles of Shira Road, they were about to dodge when a wall of earth suddenly rose up, blocking their way. In front of him, at the same time, all the missiles from the Asura Road bombarded this earth wall and were intercepted by all of them. Let this old man come and meet you. This old man is the third generation of the Earth Shadow of Yinian Village in the Land of Earth. Accompanied by a somewhat old, but full of air voice, a thin figure appeared in front of Shiradao and the people of the Ninja Alliance. This person is the third generation of soil shadows who came to support, and the 2 days were weighed on the wildwood. The soil wall just now was the soil escape he released. When he first arrived, he happened to see the Shira Road launch a missile, and without thinking, he directly blocked. It's Lord Toying. The people of the Ninja Federation, who were originally in a low morale because they couldn't help the Asura Dao, were all excited after seeing the appearance of the shadows. They all admired the shadows of the villages incomparably. Toying floated in the air, ignoring the ninjas of the Ninja Alliance, but turned his attention to Shiradao, and said solemnly, as the intruder a Shao organization. It's so arrogant, it dares to attack 4 shadows. Yun Yin, who sits in town, what is your purpose? Shira Road looked at Tsuchikage, did not answer, and directly released 3 missiles at Tsuchikage Onogi as a greeting. Although Toying is old, he still moves very fast. After all, he is a shadow-level character. He can easily deal with this kind of attack. He quickly escaped the first missile's shooting. The attack was not just one attack. After dodging the first missile, the other 2 that followed were already close at hand. After all, he did not have the speed of Raikage. But even so, it was impossible to get Toying with just these 2 missiles. Without any hesitation, he instantly used the technique of Rock Fist, only to see Toying's 2 fists petrified in an instant and became very huge. At the same time, the 2 missiles exploded in an instant. Asura Road obviously knew that the conventional means of attack could not get the Earth's shadow at all, and stretched out his hand to tear off the cloak on his body, revealing a body of strong muscles, but Asura Road's body had already been transformed into a killing machine, and its body was mechanically. Traces of stitching can be clearly seen on the body carrying a large number of weapons in the body. After the body wriggled for a while, 4 arms actually grew out of the body. Together with the original 2, there were 6 arms in total, and even a human face grew on each side of the cheek. The state of 3 heads and 6 arms looked incomparable. Weird. This is the Asura form of Shira Road, with 3 heads and 6 arms, a long serrated blade on the waist, and a bowed body like a scorpion. Is this guy's body a puppet? Looking at the transformed Shira Road, Toying's eyes were full of vigilance. Although there was only one enemy, the opponent was Akatsuki. You must know that none of the roles in Akatsuki's organization are simple, and he did not understand the specific abilities of the enemy in front of him. Did not dare to be careless. Crack, kick, kick. Before he had time to think about it, the Asura Dao moved again. A large number of missile heads suddenly appeared on the back of the bowed body, densely covering the whole body. Woo tilde woo tilde woo tilde. All the missiles were fired directly at the place where Tsukage Onogi was located. Seeing such a large-scale attack method, Tsukage shouted that it was not good. Not good. Boom, boom, boom. Hearing a few loud noises, the places where a large number of missiles hit soon exploded, and a lot of gunpowder smoke came out. Under such a dense attack, the fists of the 2 aggravating rock techniques of the soil shadow were obviously raised. It didn't work, and the crisis suddenly appeared.